No, we're not. Okay, Dimitri?
Okay, there he comes. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. This is a regular meeting for Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
I will. I'm expecting Tim Hale to call in, Stephanie Nowers.
Here?
I'm also expecting Dee McKee to call in, Maxwell Sumner.
Present.
I'm expecting Bill Gamble to call in, Dimitri Fonoff.
Here. I'm here.
Here.
Present.
Was somebody on the phone?
Yes, this is Assemblymember Gamble.
Thank you, Assemblymember Gamble. You do have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything the members would like to pull from the consent agenda? Okay, seeing no, are there any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, then the agenda is approved as presented. You all stand. And Mr. Carson, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There are no minutes that are being presented to us. The next item on our agenda is agency reports. Do we have anybody from either of the three cities? Okay, I don't see anybody. Don't see anybody from the school district. Nobody from the state. And we do have somebody, yeah, there you are. Hi, Casey, come forward. Report from the Mat-Su Convention and Visitors Bureau. Go ahead, sir.
You could turn the mic on, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Casey Ressler. I'm with the Mat-Su Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Madam Mayor and Assistant Manager George Hayes and members of the Assembly, thank you for this opportunity. I was just going to give you an update on how the summer season has been looking, some statistics on this tourism season, and then also some major projects that we've been working on, and then finally an update on the Gateway Visitor Center. I'm sure you guys have seen in the news that we went into this season expecting record visitation. I would say we're not there, but we're pretty close. When you look at borough-wide spending, 25% of all spending in the borough in the last 90 days is from visitors, and that's down 2.5%. So as we saw things soften up in the beginning of the summer with different geopolitical issues, concerns about the economy, we haven't seen that decrease in spending quite like other communities in Alaska have. In restaurants, this summer season, 28% of all spending was contributed by visitors, and that was down just 1.9%. Overall, the average visitor when they were in the Mat-Su spent $153. So that's considerable amount of money that's coming through our economy from outside the borough that stays in the borough and cycles through. This follows what we've seen statewide, but like I said, we have. From talking to my colleagues from Explore Fairbanks and Visit Anchorage, their spending is down a lot more than that. They're into the 6 to 7% range. So I think only being down 2.5% is probably a good thing. My theory on that is that we've seen a lot of visitors. So this measures visitors from 50 miles or beyond. So we capture the in-state market in that. So I think if people weren't going on a vacation outside because of concerns about the economy, they are coming out here and recreating and spending money. When you look at short-term rentals, it's a different picture. This is all of 2025, not just the last 90 days. Total nights booked was 151,000, and that's up 14.5%. Room nights available, we've had a 12.5% increase in short-term rentals this year compared to last year. And that's 277,000 room nights have been available this year. And the big one is revenue generated. So this year we've generated just over 17 million in short-term rentals, and that's up 20.7%. So I think what you're seeing is people that are coming out, staying out here, but maybe just not spending quite as much money that they would have in a previous year or a different state of the economy.
Casey, does that, the percent of the money that they spend, does that include their hotel and motel and Airbnb breakfast, or the 153 is meals and whatever other things?
That's a good question. That's spend in market. So if they've
Right.
booked their hotel already, that is not included in that
Okay.
total.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
So as an organization, we've been up to a lot of big projects lately. The biggest one is our branding project. I was going to bring you all something, but I thought maybe I should check with the attorney to see if that was even allowed before we get all of us in hot water. But we're really excited about it. It's been a slow rollout. It was a fascinating process. It took almost a year from start to finish, and it's completely data driven through a lot of resident sentiment analysis and visitor surveys. And we went into it with how do we quantify this region that's not included on a map to visitors from outside who may not understand the scope and the breadth of this region. Coming out of it was a 180-degree difference from my view going into it. I was thinking, how are we going to boil down the differences in the communities to come with one commonality? And how we came out of it is you don't. You celebrate those differences. So you'll see all the visual parts of it, but what I'm excited about is the marketing strategies and the different ways that we can pivot our marketing. And that is to lead with things that our people know and understand, the towns, the glaciers, Hatcher Pass, but tie it all back to the Mat-Su so that they know I had a great experience in Talkeetna. I didn't even realize Glacier View was part of the Mat-Su, but if we tie that all together, then we create a cohesive image for the entire region. So looking forward to that. And we've already been talking with Jillian Morrissey to see how we can incorporate that into some of the borough trailheads. On the heels of that, we'll be doing, starting tomorrow, RFP for a brand new website, a complete redesign to bring it into those brand strategies and brand assets. And that's not going to be a fun one, but it's one that's needed. We're currently in the process of putting together our 2026 visitor guide. We print 100,000 guides every year. This year, we are down to 10,000 of them out of 100,000 at the middle of August. So there's clearly still a demand for a printed guide. And this year, on the heels of that branding project, is going to be a completely reinvented guide. So we're excited about starting fresh from that. This week, we have 3 national travel writers up in the Mat-Su. They represent a number of different national publications. We host writers throughout the year. We try not to do 3 in one week, but here we are. It's the Alaska State Fair. So for 2 of them, the State Fair is their focus. But what we do is put together a 4 to 5 day itinerary so that they come up, they can see the Alaska State Fair, but we also give them the opportunity to write about things that they may not have known about before they got here. And then lastly, I'll close on the Gateway Visitor Center. Excuse me. It's been amazing this summer going out there and seeing that facility go up. I try to sneak out in the morning sometimes and beat the contractors so I can get an update on it. We have ceiling joists installed throughout the main area and a roof on the admin area. It's come together very smoothly. It's been a pleasure to work with the borough and the Steppers Construction. We've been out giving a lot of presentations to numerous community groups and building partnerships as we move into that facility. It's going to be a great asset, and it couldn't happen at a better time on the heels of the branding project and all the new things that we're doing marketing-wise. We're hoping that we can take occupancy in February, and then that's when the exhibits and displays will be installed with an opening to the public in May. So
Oh, good.
very exciting. We're very excited about the state of the industry and the future of it as well. So I thank you for all your support on not only the Gateway, but the tourism and destination marketing in general. Thank you.
Can I ask you one question?
Absolutely.
I would assume you have had to be able to visit the new building on the fairgrounds.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's really exciting, I think. I think that's going to open up some avenues for conferences and things
Yeah,
like that.
event
What are
space.
your thoughts on that?
Event space is definitely something that's needed out here. And I think as you see more infrastructure like that being built, it'll naturally lead to hoteliers looking at building something because they know that it can be supported year round, not just during the summer. We know the summer, the hotels are completely full, but if they can have a guaranteed revenue stream during the off season, yeah, any infrastructure like that is definitely an asset.
Good. Anybody? Okay, I guess no. Thank you
Yep, thank
very
you.
much. Okay. Was there a report from the Joint Assembly and School Board? meeting? You didn't have one, I guess. No. Okay. Are there any public relations reports by any of the assembly? Okay. And Mr. Deputy Mayor,
And
Mr.
Deputy Manager, anyway. Yes, ma'am. Yes, only one item, Madam Mayor, and that is Jillian Morrissey is going to come up and give us some results on the feasibility study at Wolf Lake Park, and we'll go from there. Jillian?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Assembly. For the record, Jillian Morrissey, Community Development Director. The manager has directed the Community Development Department to do a Wolf Lake feasibility study for all of you. You have that feasibility study in your folders, and it was also part of the Assembly packet. I will not go through all of that, the feasibility study tonight. You can read that as you like, and we are open to questions at any time. You're welcome to reach out to me even after this meeting if you would like to. But I wanted to provide a short summary, and I'm just going to the conclusion of that feasibility study. What our findings was that preserving and developing Wolf Lake Park on this parcel is feasible and in alignment with borough priorities. With broad community support, including North Lakes Community Council and Fish Hook Community Councils, who also, they have drafted resolutions in support of this. Modest startup costs, which are part of the feasibility study, and the alignment with borough goals, this initiative offers a high impact opportunity to safeguard public lake access and additional high quality outdoor recreation opportunities for this area. I wanted to note that both Manager Brown and myself and Joe Metzger had visited with the DNR commissioner earlier this month and spent some time with him and his staff and talked about the potential for developing this park. We said that we provided as a priority for him to look at a land transfer to the Mat-Su Borough. We have not received any response to this date from the DNR commissioner, but additionally, we also met with DNR staff who has been assigned to this project, and they are in what they call their deliberative part of their process, which is essentially like their planning process. And they are working with us, and we have already been speaking to them about even a partial transfer, or perhaps only designating one of the areas as a lake access park, or even just going into a management or a cooperative management agreement with DNR to run this park. So we will continue to work with the DNR staff as they work through their process. There's been no decision made at this time, but you do have the feasibility study in front of you, and I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
If the park were to move down the line of the process of development, are there any grant opportunities that you're aware of for building a park like this?
We can definitely look at that through the mayor to Assembly Member Sumner. We have lots of great partnerships with Mat-Su Trails and Parks Foundation. We could even look at Mat-Su Health Foundation, and we could look at opportunities there. There might even be some grant opportunities through the state in order to help develop that.
Okay. All righty. I guess that's all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else, sir?
No, ma'am, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Attorney, do you have a report?
I do not. Thank you for letting me take some leave. I do not have a report tonight. Thank you for letting me take some leave. I'm back and unbearing from my email box, and everything's moving along. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it's nice to have you back. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
just the clerk's report is in the red folders with the upcoming meeting schedule, and that is it, Madam Mayor.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is citizens and other correspondence. Is there any comments on any of the citizens and other correspondence? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Madam Clerk, would you please read the IMs into the record?
IM 25-170, notification of land acquisition for 1 acre adjacent to the new Gateway Visitor Center. IM 25-177, informing the Assembly of the submittal of a final grant report for the River Management Program Grant 14D7087, awarded through the Department of Commerce, Community, and Economic Development. IM 25-179, informing the Assembly of consent by the Matanuska-Susitna Borough to assign lease of land operating as a solar farm from Renewable IPP LLC to Clean Capital DBA Energy 49 as provided for the fair market value lease.
Okay. Are there any comments on the IMs? Okay, hearing none, and they are presented. The next item on our agenda is audience participation. We do have a sign-up sheet, and when I'm done with that, then we will give everybody an opportunity to address the assembly. Michael?
And Mr. Carson, if you could turn the mic on and then leave it on, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Michael Carson. I'm the Vice President Recovery Specialist of My House of Mat-Su. I also chair the Mat-Su Opioid Task Force. And first things first, I want to thank the borough's work and working in partnership with the three cities of Houston, Wasilla, and Palmer to create and utilize their health powers. We're talking about a pass-through. And that pass-through will be able to have direct services. We know that the borough would only be able to use that money for training and education. I know there is an entire list of direct services that will be available now that service providers can utilize, but I want to talk about case management specifically. We know that addiction is a disease of isolation, and recovery is all about connections and relationships. With case management, there'll be able to be a one-on-one relationship building to be able to have that person enter into recovery or treatment, housing, wraparound services, so that person can step out of being trapped and suffering from the disease of addiction. I wanted to thank the borough for that work. I am excited about the opportunity for multiple direct services, and I would like, as the Vice President of my house and the Chair of the Mat-Su Opioid Task Force, in full support of utilizing the partnerships for these pass-throughs so that we can move forward with opioid distribution and change the game and get more people in recovery. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Charles George. Under audience participation, sir, you can address the assembly on any subject. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming.
My name is Charles St. George, and I am excited to say that I am retired, and that's great. My wife is trying to train me how to do things in the garden and pick up after myself. So I'm pretty excited about all of that. I live on Fuller Lake, and I wanted to just make sure that we have the opportunity to discuss the importance of public safety. This lake is a really small lake, as you well know, and public safety is really about public access as well. And I hope that dialogue comes to fruition, because I in a former career, I was a broadcast journalist with KTVA, and worked very closely with the people in the Mat-Su borough as the borough chief. And it dawned on me that we lost a lot of young people on lakes over these years. I'm thinking about all the different lakes that have had one thing or another happen. And what we need to, what I'm hoping we can do, is take a closer look at how we can work together with our partners, and by partners I mean with the borough and all of the different responders, first responders who are involved in helping to promote safety and being there when an incident occurs. I know one of the assembly members, Bill Gamble, and we've had an opportunity to talk about some of this. But what I'm really interested in is making sure that if there are bridges for us to build, now would be a good time. And that's all I have.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. Senator Wilson?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Deputy Manager Hayes, and Assembly members. My name is David Wilson, and today I'm here to represent my employer, the Matsu Hill Foundation. I serve as their Director of Public Policy. Madam Clerk is passing out our most recent annual report, and I apologize. It's been a while since our schedules haven't been able to align to be able to be present physically here at the meetings, but I do mind and watch you guys as you perform on online. As you can see, the Matsu Hill Foundation, for those that may not know, received its funding from its part ownership of the Matsu Regional Medical Center, 35%. And through those earnings, we've given out grants and scholarships to the Matsu with the mission of making sure that our Matsu borough is the healthiest and healthiest and the most well-rounded borough in the state of Alaska. You can see in 2024, we've given grants to over 112 organizations, which is about $21 million. And since the conception, I believe we've given out over 187 million since 2006. Did you see the last last two pages are the list of the grantees. When we do serve all, we do serve all through the Matsu. You can see that we are probably also the largest funder of faith-based organizations in the state of Alaska in terms of outside the federal funds that one entity might get. But in terms of a private funder in the state, no other entity gives more to faith-based programs than the Matsu Health Foundation. In terms of scholarships in the Matsu as well, this year we're looking at maybe about $4 million, and that's including the traditional scholarships, but also vocational scholarships and opportunities for continuing education credits in the health and social services area as well. And so with that, I just want to leave this with you guys, and we'll be back up to testify, I think, another ordinance coming forth. And just want to say thank you for all you guys do and the wonderful partnerships as well. We've also funded different programs within the borough in the past and all the Tri-Cities as well. And so we look forward to continuing. We've been meeting and looking forward to ways that we can continue offer this partnership and continuing making sure that we can have the healthiest borough in the state of Alaska. So I'll feel free to contact me if you guys have any questions or ways that we can continue to partner. Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela Grogan?
I'm Pamela Grogan. I'm here with the Fuller Lake Management.
Can I get you to pull your mic down? Thank you, so we can hear you.
I am short. Madam Mayor and Assistant Borough Manager, thank you for letting me speak here today, and all the Assembly members. I appreciate that. I just wanted to let you know, in 2023, the Fuller Lake residents initiated a lake management plan after witnessing some concerning events that were deemed unsafe to residents and wildlife by the operators of jet skis on Fuller Lake. These residents have maintained a steadfast dedication to writing a plan that would allow for a safe environment when everyone enjoys the lake, not just the jet skis and not just the people on waterboards or other watercraft. Believing in the borough statement that the lake management plan is written to protect and safeguard lake features, properties, and the quality of life and the community values for the residents. As required, we found through the borough website that the lake is 37.64 acres total with a total depth of 5.85 feet. Also, there's access to the lake via the school parking lot, who is adjacent to the borough our subdivision. However, the access does not accommodate placement of a boat or a jet ski because it is for wildlife viewing, so it has a railing completely around it, and the path down to the lake is very small, so you wouldn't be able to carry something like that down to the lake. In review of the current list for LMPs, Fuller Lake was one of the smallest lakes on the list, and only with an overall depth, the only one with an overall depth of less than 6 feet deep. In your review, I ask that you consider the ability of the jet skis to stop. It's very difficult, and in my research, I looked at Craig Good, PhD, president and senior consultant of Collision Analysts, who holds a doctorate in mechanical engineering, specializing in biomechanics, and expert witness on the subject. Dr. Good writes, jet skis require a long distance to stop. A typical stopping distance for a jet ski traveling at 30 miles per hour is 150 feet, and 220 feet for one going 40 miles per hour. The lack of steerability and in an off-throttle situation where most of us would reduce the throttle, take your foot off the gas pedal, take your finger off the throttle in order to stop to avoid a collision, it's a common reaction, and this can understandably contribute to the factor of high collision and injury rates. His article cites references of the state boating laws on the National Association of State Boating Laws Administrator website and Personal Watercraft Industry Association. What is that?
That means your time is up, but can you wrap it up in a sentence or two?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
You can also speak in a public hearing.
Yeah, and there will be a public hearing after we do audience participation, so you can speak at that time also.
Okay, can I save my last statements for that time?
Sure.
Okay,
you
I'll be
certainly
back
may.
then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Raymond? Raymond Gorgon? Hi.
I'm Raven Grogan. And I want to speak to the Fuller Lake Management Plan as well, but I come here, I'm not neutral, I'm in favor of the plan, but the words I have to say may not sound like I'm in favor. I watched and spent some time with our planning commission's last meeting, and I watched it twice. The first time was pretty tough for me, being in favor of the lake management plan. And I took a week off, and I looked at it again, and what I saw was reasonable men and women with reasonable concerns about lake management plans in general. I actually put a timer on it for 23 minutes. Our representatives, our commissioners, didn't talk about our lake management plan at all. Not ours. It was lake management plans in general. They didn't agree with the process. Sorry, I'm going to lose some of my 3 minutes here by putting my glasses on. Some quotes from some people that I think a lot of, actually. I think the lake management plan is illegal. I question the code and the legality of it. This is the quote. And I'm sorry if they're out of context, but I assume many of you have actually watched that so you can put it into context. And I apologize if that's the case. Questions were posed about the number of votes. He allowed 49 people, but only 28 parcels. Why is there not 49 votes? Well, it's in code, but it's a question and it's a valid one. If I own 28 parcels, could I dictate what happens on the lake? Well, the answer I would give would be yes. Except we have a lake management plan procedure wherein the assembly could step in and rescue us from that billionaire that bought those 28
those 28 parcels. But that's just my own feeling. I least favorite, wrong in every way. And that got me riled up. But if it's true, and our planning commission really feels that way, and our assembly feels the same, then indeed we have some work to do outside of our little tiny lake management plan. If the borough assembly does not agree, we come to the same conclusion. There are some things to work out. We have some things to work out between our planning commission and our borough. I don't want to speak to how I feel about this. I don't want to speak about birds. I don't want to speak about I don't want to speak about anything other than the fact that we have some very well-informed people that don't like this idea at all. I do, and I come across as not, but I want to consider that. That's it. Thanks for listening to me, folks.
Thank you. Jackie?
Good evening, Mayor and Assembly members. My name is Jackie Goforth. As you know, I've been speaking for a couple of years about library books. 2 years ago, when I first found out the extent of pornography and obscenity that was in the libraries, I was shocked. I was shocked. And the original question I asked was, is there a pornographic department in the library? And the answer was always no, right? So if you look at and you go online and you ask, what is an obscenity? It will tell you. Obscene material is defined as content that meets the criteria of the Miller test. It includes whether the average person finds it appeals to prurient interests, et cetera, et cetera. This type of material is not protected under the First Amendment right of the United States. It's not. Now, there's a book that the Library Citizens Advisory Committee looked at last week and spoke about, and all of them were unanimous in saying it was obscene by the Miller case. All of them. All of them. And yet they seem to think that if you move it into the adult section, that makes it okay. Now, when I first started talking, every single meeting I went to, the first 3 meetings, I was told that these books belong in the young adults. The young adults needed them. Nothing in there is obscene. Well, now that it's come to a committee that looks at it, and the school district said this book was obscene also, unanimously, all of them, including 5 school district employees, said that this book is obscene. And the Judge Gleason agreed with it and didn't put it back in the libraries. So now, in order for the taxpayers to have some sort of stewardship over the libraries, because the people who are choosing the library books now have to have oversight on their books, what happens is, when you talk to a librarian, you get a superiority-stained contemptuous remark or superiority-stained disdain. That's what they do. And I can tell you what it sounds like. It sounds like the people who come up here and say, there are no obscene books in the libraries. What is wrong with these people? We all know that's not true. Well, now you're looking at what contempt looks like. This is a list. It's supposed to be a sample that was given to the board members on Monday, or last Tuesday, to show them what the books would look like. And if you look at all these books, it reads like something that Stephen Colbert would have put out, or Saturday Night Live, if they're trying to make fun of people. And one of those board members spoke, and I'm going to quote her exactly because I have it memorized. This board is not capable of deciding what books are acceptable for the Valley. It takes an educated librarian and those who know in order to do that. And I want you to know that somebody in the borough spent a lot of time and money and work hours coming up with a ridiculous list that makes fun of people, and at 7 cents a tax, I'm sorry, I'll wrap it up. At a 7-cent tax that you're looking for, somebody needs to look at why somebody would waste that amount of time to make the board members, to be able to prove to the board members that they're you don't know a good book when you're looking at it. Like number 4. You see John Wayne's Bean Recipe by Ard Cogburn? That's Rooster Cogburn. If you look through them, they're all like that. This took a lot of time to make. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jacob. Is there anyone else that would like to? Yeah, John, come.
Madam Mayor and
Good evening.
members of the Assembly, thank you for this opportunity to talk to you. And thank you for your service to our community. I always appreciate it. I'm here to talk about the Wolf Lake Park, or the resurrection of Wolf Lake Park, because it used to be a very nice, viable park. And I've lived in the Wolf Lake area for over 40 years now. And I can remember taking my kids down there to the park. They had about 6 little camp areas with fire pits, picnic tables. They had a 2-seat outhouse, permanent outhouse, not porta potties. And it was wonderful. It was a neighborhood gathering place on a hot day in the summer. And sometimes we'd even pitch a tent out there. The problem was is that the state really never took any kind of supervision over the park. And people in the neighborhood would go and we'd have a cleanup day and we'd go through the park and clean up things and kind of supervise it. Around graduation time, the kids would have their graduation parties out there and they'd get, go into the night, and we'd have to kind of call the troopers to come out and, make sure they weren't burning the place down, things like that. Well, once the park closed, it really fell into disarray. It's overgrown. The accesses were blocked off numerous times because every time they put the rocks up to block the access, people just make a new path. So there are multitudes of paths going into the park. And because it's just open and they don't, there's no supervision, there's trails everywhere through the, where there's not probably supposed to be any trails, and they tear up the ground and everything else. Plus, there's a lot of beetle kill trees everywhere, which kind of makes me nervous because people can just go in there and have their little campfires without proper pits or anything like that, and there's a lot of, fire danger. So I think it would be really, really good if the borough could somehow take ownership of that park in one of these different ways, and make it a really, really nice community park. Enlarge it a little bit because the population surrounding that park has grown considerably, and we're really lack nice places like that, recreation areas, things like that. So I'm really here just to trying to encourage you guys to really push that here. Maybe it could even be something we can do by next summer and enjoy a nice park for families to gather in. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Anyone else that would like to address the assembly on any subject? Travis?
Oh, my name is Travis Friesen. I live in the valley. Originally, I wasn't gonna come up and speak because I didn't have anything on mine, but I have something on mine. I'm gonna talk about something very different than what I usually talk about, and it's about the homeless, more specifically panhandlers. Yeah, we have quite a bit of an issue. I have quite a bit of an issue with panhandlers staying in the middle of roads, trying to beg for money, saying that they're homeless and stuff. It's especially bad at Fred Meyer's, Palmer. You see people holding up signs that they're homeless, and when you go into the entrance, I see them, try to harass people into having them give their money. There's this one guy. I remember one day I was on the Glen Highway, and I saw this guy. He has a sign and then waves with his other hand and he saw this passing car, he almost went into the road. He almost got hit. I mean, the absolute idiocy and the lack of consideration for his safety is astounding. So I would like to perhaps you could make some laws that makes it illegal for people to panhandle. I mean, I see it at cars, Fred Meyer's, and near Walmart. It's dangerous and distracts people while they're driving, and also even when people offer them help for jobs and stuff like that, they usually get aggressive and violent and stuff like that. So yeah, so I would make it illegal so that when they can't beg anymore, then they'll be forced to get help by other means, whether it's treatment or some other means. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Let the record show Assemblyperson McKee arrived at 6:39. Is there anyone else that would like to address the Assembly on any subject? Do we have anybody online, sir? We do not have anybody online. So one last chance. Okay, so close public audience participation, and we now go to public hearings.
Ordinance 25079, an ordinance adopting MSB 1524030C43, Fuller Lake Lake Management Plan, and amending MSB 175960, Lake Management Plan Implementation. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Okay, we have staff reports, sir. I saw somebody stand, but then they sat back.
Yes, come forward for the staff report, please.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Rebecca Scott Hogg. I am a current planner with the Mat-Su Borough. Just to give you a brief overview of the Fuller Lake Management Plan. The Lake Management Plan was initiated by the Fuller Lake community in summer of 2023 in response to growing conflicts around lake usage consistent with the MSB Borough's lake management process established under MSB 24031. This regulatory framework allows residents to develop and propose surface use regulations tailored to the specific lakes, provided that a majority of shoreline property owners support the initiative. There are currently 42 lake management plans active in the Mat-Su Borough. Under MSB 1524031, the borough is required to ensure that all lake management plan meetings are publicly advertised and accessible, which is accomplished via newspaper notices, email updates, social media posts, and a dedicated project website. The regulatory process also mandates community-driven decision-making supported by borough staff who facilitate meetings, provide research, arrange professional guidance from Alaska Department of Fish and Game, and assist in drafting the plan. Any enforceable regulations emerging from a lake management plan must comply with MSB 1759, which sets parameters based on lake size. Some background information on Fuller Lake. It spans roughly 39 surface acres with an average depth of 5 feet 9 inches. There are 29 parcels surrounding the lake. However, one parcel is owned by Meadow Lakes Elementary School, which does not have voting rights. As a result, 28 parcels were eligible for voting through this lake management plan process. A valid petition was submitted in June of 2023, beginning the process. For a lake management plan petition to be considered valid, it must show that over 50% of all shoreline property owners are in favor of initiating a lake management plan. 61% of the lake residents signed the petition. A certified ballot was mailed to each parcel indicating whether they are in favor of initiating a lake management plan. The primary ballot results are as followed: 28 ballots mailed, 19 ballots returned, 15 ballots in favor, 4 ballots opposed. This results 79% of returned ballots supporting the lake management plan on Fuller Lake. After this began the community engagement and drafting process. The Fuller Lake management process involved a series of public meetings held between October and November 2024, supplemented by virtual attendance options. Despite extensive discussions, residents remain divided on the regulations of personal watercrafts, which is specifically the use of jet skis, necessitating the secondary ballot. The secondary ballot results are as followed: 28 ballots mailed, 17 ballots returned, 12 ballots in favor of banning personal watercraft, and 5 ballots in favor of a timeshare option for personal watercraft. This resulted in 71% of returned ballots supported a full ban on personal watercraft on Fuller Lake. Following the secondary ballot, a final ballot was conducted to vote on the entire Fuller Lake Lake Management Plan draft and its proposed regulations. Quiet hours between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. daily. No wake zone 50 feet from shoreline. Motor limit with a maximum 5 horsepower for motorized watercraft. Personal watercraft on a full band. The final ballot results are as follows: 28 ballots mailed, 23 ballots returned, 14 ballots in favor of the lake management plan, and 9 ballots opposed. Approval rate for the return ballots was 61%, majority. The finalized plan is codified through Ordinance 25-079, which amends MSB 1759 to formally implement the community-approved regulations. Borough staff recommends the adoption of Ordinance number 25-079, endorsing the Fuller Lake Lake Management Plan. This recommendation is based on comprehensive public participation, regulatory compliance, with a clear majority of shoreline property owners' support.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Would the Planning Commission vote on this?
The Planning Commission's resolution is within your packet. They did not vote in favor of the lake management plan. I do believe it is their last sentence. Yeah, it's in your packet on page. So there's a whereas a total personal watercraft ban and a 5 horsepower boat engine limit on the state-owned lake would unreasonably reduce the access, use, and enjoyment on Fuller Lake by Alaska residents. That was the sentence that they added.
Assemblyperson McKee?
I don't know whether this is a proper time to discuss this. Are we actually into debating whether or not we want to do this?
No, because we have to have the public hearing from the people testify first.
Okay.
So this is just in case, you have a question from staff.
Okay, so just to be clear, the staff recommended that they accept this LMP.
Yeah, through the mayor to Assemblymember Dean Key. The staff does recommend that we accept this lake management plan because it does meet all the regulatory compliance of 1524-031, which highlights lake management plan implementation.
Okay, so then like a month later, the commission, the planning commission, or whatever those folks are, said, no, we don't think so, because the entire state of Alaska actually has access to the surface water, so we don't think that we're going to go with that. Is that pretty much it?
Through the mayor to T. Key, to my understanding, now I can't speak for the planning commission directly, they are just not in favor of lake management plans generally speaking. They did not specify anything within this lake management plan that they really didn't like. I would say that they weren't too familiar with the process and the regulations set out by code, but they just were not in favor of lake management plans, would be my general understanding, although I cannot speak for the commission.
I think they actually did on page, I don't know, they're page 3 of 4, where they said the whereases and all that, and it would unreasonably reduce the access, use, and enjoyment of Fuller Lake by Alaska residents. So that, to me, appears to be the reason that they said if we can't all have it, then nobody can have it, so kind of thing. That's what I'm reading into it, so yeah, thanks.
I do think it is important to note that it does not reduce the access. The access is still available. So I think that was a little bit of a mistype in that resolution, but yeah.
Assemblyperson Sumner.
I have 4 questions.
Okay.
So bear with me. So am I correct that there's no public boat launch at this lake?
No.
So if a lake management plan is enacted, are there signs posted?
Yeah. To the mayor, to Sumner, this might be a question that Alex would know.
Can I speak to that for a second? Or am I out of line? They wanted him to do it. They
can we
talked about
finish-
signage.
Finish with Assemblyperson Sumner's questions, and then I'll recognize you.
Okay.
Yeah, go
Through the
ahead,
mayor.
sir.
Yep, to Assemblymember Sumner, Alex Strawn, Planning Director. So many of our lakes that have lake management plans, we do post signs. We also put informational flyers out, especially if has a boat launch. It might be difficult in this situation if there's no public boat launch, though.
So when I was reviewing lake management plans in general, I noticed there's a variety of different rules for them. Is there a place that a resident can, like our website, that they can see which lakes have lake management plans and what the rules are?
Yeah, through the mayor to Assemblymember Sumner. The lake management plans are all within code on 1759. So there is a way for the public to see what lake management plans exist. Also within the website, all the lake management plans are published and posted as well. So you can go on the MSB website, go into permits and plans, I believe, and then all of them are posted. Yeah.
What was the vote count for the planning commission when they recommended not approving this lake management plan?
Through the mayor to Sumner. Unanimous, they did not.
And then I had one more question. So staff recommends adopting this lake management plan because it meets the requirements of 15.24.031, but that's just presenting the lake management plan. It just outlines how staff should present the lake management plan to the assembly and the planning commission. So I'm wondering why staff would recommend that we adopt this, since it's just, that outlines just presenting it.
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Sumner, I'm not entirely sure what you were speaking to. 1524.031 does have the process, everything from initiation of the petition, the required public meetings, the amount of parcels how you count or tabulate the votes, how the votes are distributed, that every person that gets to vote also needs to have a return stamped envelope directed to the person that is in charge of this or facilitating this lake management plan. So it doesn't really have anything about presenting that I noticed, but it has the outline of how the process would work. So it's 1524.031, and it has 11, a couple pages of.
I guess follow-up question. I guess I'm questioning where in code it says that if a lake management plan petition meets this threshold, it should be adopted. Because I couldn't find anywhere that it says that. I just found that there's a process to petition and then send it to the assembly and the planning commission, who then decides if a lake management plan should be adopted or not. Maybe this is a question for legal.
Mm-hmm.
You're correct. Obviously, any ordinance change requires 4 votes of the assembly, and there's 7 assembly members, and of course the mayor has the power of veto. But the code section being referred to does talk about initiating and amending lake management plans, and I think all it says at the end is, if more than 60% of all ballots received by the planning department are in favor, the planning department will present the plan and its corresponding ordinance to the planning commission and assembly for public hearing. It does not, nor can it, tell you how you have to vote. Because the prior assembly that passed this can't tell this assembly what to do.
Okay, Assemblyperson McKee.
Yeah, when I was reading through this, I did, about the signage, they requested specifically in their meetings and their wants that they wanted the signage on there. And that's really helpful, because if you go to some of these lakes and you've got your big honking 400 horsepower motor thing, you get there and it says, 5 miles an hour and an electric motor. It's kind of ruins your day. So yeah, signage is really important. And they did specifically ask for signage.
Okay, Assemblyperson Bonoff, go ahead.
Has there been any death or injury reported on this lake from the personal watercraft to staff?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Fanoff, I am unaware this was a project that was handed to me after somebody else had started it and somebody else had started it. So I'm unaware of that information. That might be something for the residents to answer.
Okay, I didn't see that in report. What about accidents with personal watercraft? Was there any report? I didn't see any. I'm asking if you know that there was any reported on this lake.
Again, I don't live there. My job is as staff is to take code and apply code to the lake management plan that the community has.
And if I'm understanding correctly, this would put limit of engines only be allowed up to 5 horsepower. Is that okay? Is that my understanding correctly?
Yeah, through the mayor to Assemblymember Fanoff. That is correct. That was what the community had voted on.
Okay. And how does that apply to electric motors?
And 5 horsepower engine is what the community voted on.
Okay, because I'm looking, I just did some looking up, like 4 to 20 kilowatt electric motors equivalent, and that's considered fairly small. It's considered 6 to 25 horsepower, so I don't think that's very fair to one side, but we're only banning the gas engine. But I think that answers my questions. Thank you.
Okay, Assemblyperson Hours, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a couple questions, and this is probably for legal, but I did notice that language that Assemblymember Sumner pointed out, that it says in code that this will be presented to the Planning Commission and Assembly. Was there, can you speak to, sometimes the language that's adopted, there's intent behind it, so is there any intent when this was adopted? Would you have to go back and review the conversation to see if the intent was that, hey, if you meet this threshold, if the community comes together, this is what you have to reach to have something approved by the assembly?
Well, obviously, the code requires 60% to even direct staff to present it. So let me back up a little bit to make sure everybody's on the same page. What the code talks about is how you get up to bat, right? Remember, state law, as I've said several times, grants the power to present ordinances to the assembly, the mayor, and the manager. So no matter what code says, an assembly, mayor, or manager can always present an ordinance. This is more of a mechanism for community involvement, the way I see it, that if more than 60% do that, then it's going to be sponsored by the manager because of code to bring it forward. There is no intent regarding this that I'm aware of. I could go back and look. What I do note is that this particular code section in Title 15 was enacted in 1999, whereas the original code sections regarding motorized use is all in Title 17, and that was adopted via voter initiative back in 1993. So it looks like the voters came with a petition, wanted 1758 to be put into code, went on the ballot, voters said yes, poof, it went into code. And then it looks like about 6 years later, these provisions regarding, what to do, how to do it, how to implement it, and how to go about it were put into code. So I can't speak to anything more than that.
Follow-up?
One follow-up then. I remembered something going on the ballot many, many moons ago. So if I understood you right, in 1993, there was a specific ballot proposition about being able to regulate, shall the borough regulate personal watercraft or motorized?
Yeah, so
craft?
The ordinance 93-132 says an initiative petition seeking to amend MSB 1758 to provide a restriction on the use of motorized equipment on certain lakes and waterways within the borough. So it was filed with the clerk November 10th of 1993. The clerk certified the petition November 19th. Back at the time, the state law required a special election be heard within 75 days of a certification of a petition. So a special election was had in February. And the ballot proposition was, shall an ordinance be adopted to provide a restriction on use of motorized equipment on certain lakes and waterways within the borough? And what it did was MSB 1758 was adopted. And because the voters said yes, then it was approved and it went into code.
Okay, so the borough asked the voters, and they're the ones that said, yeah, we should have this as an option in the borough.
Yeah, an initiative petition came forward. The assembly wasn't really, The Assembly, of course, was involved, but it was done via voter initiative. So it appears as though the voter initiative was the 1758, which is still in code today. And if you go back and look at 1758, many of the references show that it has not changed at all since 1993 when it was adopted.
Thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
So as long as they got 60%, then they get to go in front of the public or the planning commission then?
Well, that's what the Title 15 says in number 12. And ask the planners to jump in if you think I'm saying anything wrong here, because certainly it says that if more than 60% of all ballots received by the planning department by the ballot deadline are in favor of the lake management plan, the planning department will present the plan and its corresponding ordinance to the planning commission and assembly for public hearing.
Okay. And I'd like to get some more feedback from the planning commission why unanimously they voted it down.
Through the mayor to Assembly Member Bernier, I cannot speak for the planning commission. There is a video on YouTube, and you can always reach out to them directly. They, in my general overview, just don't like management plans. And so that was the reasoning that was presented back to me that evening.
Okay. Assemblyperson Sumner.
Oh, yeah, this is just a question for the borough attorney. Do you recall, or is there a way you can see that there were specific lakes that were in that 1993 ordinance?
They're in this piece here. There's a whole, this is where you find that stuff.
Madam Mayor, while he looks up, can I ask a question to staff?
Registration ice houses.
Well, he asked a question of the attorney. I'm waiting for the attorney to give me an answer, sir.
I was just gonna, while he's looking, I was gonna ask to staff.
Well, Assemblyperson McKee had her lined up, and then I'll recognize you. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Attorney.
I'll wait for you. Are you going?
I'm looking at, okay, so the code has several parts that address lake management plans. The part that staff is talking about right now in terms of bringing the petition and coming forward is in Title 15. The part that was adopted by the voters was 1758 that gives us the power to regulate. All of the regulations themselves are in 1759, which only goes back to 1999. So it does not look like it was adopted in 93, although Alex is standing up, unless it was repealed and reenacted at some point. It's been amended over and over and over. Every time a lake gets added, it's over and over and over amended. So.
Okay. Do you mind if Alex answers your question? Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. So the 1758 has 3 water bodies that are regulated, which is Cottonwood Lake, Finger Lake, and Wasilla Lake. Those are the 3 lakes that are mentioned in 1758, the original ordinance.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a follow-up question. So the assumption is that the voters wanted those 3 lakes regulated on that ballot measure in 93.
1758 does a lot more than that because it allows the borough to regulate, it allows the borough to do these lake management plans. Yes, those 3 were adopted as part of this ordinance from what I can tell, but the ordinance itself talks about, intended to promote the safe, responsible, and wise, safe, reasonable, wise, and responsible use of lakes and waterways within the borough. And it talks about the moderate risks. It talks about safety, buoys, and signs. And then the manager, upon submittal of a report or condition, may petition the planning commission to hold a public hearing to determine whether to make a lake or waterway subject to conditions of this chapter. So it talks about the manager doing it. And then it also talks about citizens coming forward may petition the planning commission to take a lake or waterway subject to the conditions of this chapter. So while the 3 were adopted, it specifically has provisions for both the manager and the public to come forward to add other lakes. Why they were then put into 1759 instead, that is a question for the ages.
Okay, Assemblyperson McKee had a question?
I do, because we went through a lot of this stuff when we were doing Beverly Lake a couple of years ago. What I don't understand, and I was looking for something between the 16th of June staff report and the 21st of July commission. The staff were saying, yeah, that's a great idea. No, you just said yes, that's what we said. You recommended it. And then who said what? Do we know why the commission, maybe somebody already asked that, but do we know why the commission said no? I mean, they dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's, had all the petitions, got the proper percentage, blah, blah, blah. And when the community looks at us and says, you know, we want transparency, we want to hear the voice of the people, blah, 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 and then we say, no, I don't think so. I don't get that. I would be very resentful if I had done all those things and then somebody said, now we're not going to listen to you. What happened in that brief 5 or whatever it was weeks time?
Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So
Yeah.
the Planning Commission did adopt a 4-page resolution, which is.
I'm sorry, say again?
So the Planning Commission did adopt a 4-page resolution, which is in your packet, which gives their rationale
Yeah.
for not wanting to approve this.
Was I right in that saying it's that one paragraph in there that talks about public access?
Well,
I think that's the only negative thing I saw.
Yeah, I think you need to look at it in its totality, but yeah, I mean, they did talk a lot about it and expressed their concern that the people around that live around a lake dictate what happens on a public resource that everybody should have access to and do what they want with. That was kind of the summary.
So let me ask you then, if you can do it for one, if you, the 3 lakes that you talked about, if you can do it for one, it's okay, everybody, to vote for these lake management plans that the people surrounding it are set up. And I know, like Bonnie Lake, you 5 horsepower electric motor, Lake Lorraine, same thing. But that, so the whole body of why they objected to it was, we're gonna somehow restrict access to the public that don't live around the lake. Is that kind of like it?
That certainly was part of their the discussion they had. Now, there are 42 lakes currently in code that have lake management plans and specific rules. So this would be number 43. So this has happened a lot in the past.
Yeah. So if I'm a person out there working my fanny off to get this thing done right to the nth degree, and then some folks 4 people then have the ability to say, no, I guess we do, or they do, whatever.
We need to keep, I think, some of this discussion to when it comes back to the assembly, because we haven't heard from the public yet. So, okay? It's
Okay,
not
I'm
the
fine.
time for the assembly to make the decision.
And I wasn't sure how far I should go there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, Assemblyperson Faunoff.
I guess if once we have a discussion, I'd love to be able to bring Alex back. Maybe I think that then will be more appropriate for me to ask him the questions I have. Okay, so if that's okay with you, so just make sure that we will have a chance to talk to him again, the 2 staff, while we're debating.
Assemblyperson Nowers, do you still have a question?
I'll hold my questions until after.
Okay, and then Deputy Mayor? Okay, all right. So I think we're done with you for now. We're going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-079. We do have one person that signed up, but even if you testified under audience participation, you can still testify under the public hearing. There is later in the agenda another audience participation, but if you testified under the first audience participation, you cannot testify under the second audience participation. Okay? So Edward Bennett?
Madam Mayor, members of the Assembly, my name is Edward Bennett. After living for 45 years in Eagle River, my wife Georgia and I purchased a lot on Fuller Lake and built a new home there last summer. Why did we do this? Because we appreciated the views, the quiet, and above all, the wildlife, especially the swans, loons, ducks, and sandhill cranes, which are protected from harassment by the Migratory Birds Act. All of that was threatened 2 years ago when a young man, said to be related to one of the landowners, was allowed to use a personal watercraft on Fuller Lake, and according to multiple eyewitnesses, chase swans and may have run over loons. This left many of the lake's landowners deeply disturbed, and they proceeded with the process, which resulted in the Fuller Lake Management Plan you have before you today. That plan includes a ban on personal watercraft on Fuller Lake. It was approved by a 60 or more % majority on 2 separate ballots. A big reason for that is that Fuller Lake is only 39 acres in size and only 5 foot 9 inches deep at most. You can barely get a personal watercraft up to speed before you run out of lake. The fact is, there are multiple locations nearby where personal watercraft can be used to their full potential. For instance, Big Lake is just a 10-minute drive away. Whatever loss and convenience a ban on the watercraft may cause is far outweighed by the protection of one small lake and its remarkable wildlife. A majority of the landowners have voted in favor of the Fuller Lake Management Plan, and I urge the members of the Assembly to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to?
Good evening. My name is Esther Huddleston, Huddleston. Fuller Lake belongs to the people of the state of Alaska. It doesn't belong to the homeowners around Fuller Lake. The Mat-Su-Borough Lake Management Plan 25-079 has manipulative results for Fuller Lake. It's 40% of the homeowners who support Fuller Lake Management Plan, not 60%. Mat-Su-Borough staff calculated ballots returned, not the calculation of homeowners who live around the Fuller Lake. When is the Mat-Su-Borough going to draw the line in the sand? I'm a Meadow Lakes resident and concerned about lakes in my area becoming restricted. You gave them Beverly Lakes, now Fuller Lake, which is a mucky lake with no fish. We have 2 million acres of land locked up in federal lands. All of the lakes in Anchorage to Eklutna are restricted. Lakes from Palmer to Talkeetna are restricted. The Palmer Flats restricted. Fish Creek Conservation and Big Lake restricted. We have the Wildlife Refuge in Willow up in the Talkeetna Mountains restricted. People who support motorized restrictions have options. I feel sorry for those who invested in their boats, jet skis, because they don't have options. Our state is getting all locked up. We're losing recreational opportunities. They always play the duck card. The ducks nest by Palmer-Wasilla Highway. If you're not going to shut down a highway for the nesting birds, then why Fuller Lake? The people who implemented the Fuller Lake Management Plan were complaining about the Cessnas flying around. However, they chose to move into an aviation community. Most of the year it is quiet because it's too cold to jet ski. It's time to say no to more restrictions. Please vote no on Fuller Lake Management Plan and leave what's left for all Alaskans. And I want to reflect back to the Mat-Su-Borough-wide Safe Street Comprehensive Plan, because they're saying that jet skis are dangerous. We had 78% crashes, automobile crashes, 4,802 crashes in the Mat-Su-Borough. 15% was motorcycle, 4% pedestrian, 3% of the accidents were bicyclists, less than 1% ATVs, less than 1%. And they're saying that jet skis are dangerous. Where's the facts? Where's the evidence that a jet ski harmed somebody on a lake? Less than 1% on ATVs that are driven up and down the roadways. And I would like to, that's it. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would, okay. Your parting comments?
Well, she made some good points, but I have some counterpoints to make here.
I'm sorry, you have to give us your name again. So.
Pamela Grogan.
Thank you.
Like I said before, the distance for a jet ski to stop 30 miles an hour is 150 feet. 220 feet, sorry, at 40 miles per hour. That's quite a distance, all right? For example, the new 2026 Sea-Doos model X325 can go 68 miles an hour from the factory. That's before they take the governor off. And most people who want a fast jet ski usually take that off, at least in my opinion. For example, it would take 3.7 seconds to go from 0 to 60 miles an hour. Our lake can't support that. It's not big enough to do that and then ask them to stop directly after that. Other states now require age limits, permits, continuing education in order to operate a jet ski on lakes. We are aware that jet skis in Fuller Lake are not going to go away. What we'd like to do is propose that make a conscious effort to protect everyone in the Mat-Su Valley, not just the owners of the jet skis, but also the people who like to go out there on wakeboards, paddle boats, pedal boats, any of those people, which unfortunately on this lake being so small, you cannot do that safely when the jet skis are out there because they're up going around, twirling around. I have films of them if you'd like to see, if anyone requests that of me. I would like to ask, we've done our due diligence. We went to every meeting. We did everything that the borough asked us to do to get this moved forward. And we got the right amount of votes to pass this. And we're asking you to consider that also in your response. In your decision-making, I ask that you please consider the history of Alaska. It's known for wildlife and wilderness. All of the residents' desires, not just the owners of the new high, fast-moving jet skis and other recreational vehicles that we must contend with here in the valley. We need to incorporate everybody in that decision-making process. Why must all of the lakes in the Mat-Su Valley have fast-moving vehicles allowed on them? Why can't we take the smaller lakes and allow them to stop the jet skis and allow people to go out in a relaxing way and enjoy the lakes? Are we going to allow, I would like to conclude with this question, are we going to allow these LMPs to be as effective as the regulations that govern our bike paths? We all are very familiar with not being able to walk down a bike path without being fearful that you're going to be run over by an ATV. Can't let our kids go on the bike paths because of the same reason. Please consider all of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mike Malewski. I live here actually in downtown Palmer, so I don't live on a lake. But I thought I would take a slightly different tack here. I want to go back 45 years ago. The mayor and I met at that time, a long time ago. The reason why I bring that up is because if you were around 45 years ago, the population of this valley was considerably less.
10,000, I think.
Yeah. So I wanted to sort of talk about the moose in the room. Casey did a wonderful job. He made a very important point. He said, we have an increasing number of tourists coming to the valley. Oh, okay. We do not have an increasing number of lakes. So by any sense, that means you have more people wanting to use the lakes that we do have. I really appreciated the opportunity to listen because it was quite a good discussion about the intricacies of how you make decisions and so on. But it seems to me that really what we're talking about here is how do you, as the Assembly, come up with a way of balancing, and this has been true in a number of other topics, balancing someone who lives on a lake with someone who wants to come and use that lake, which has some public access. Later on, you'll be talking about public access improvement to a lake. Well, that exacerbates the problem of, if anything. You've already set up a process which has worked for setting aside smaller lakes, and it all comes back to you. You have this decision about how to balance it. The process of how you do it, that's cool. That's nice that you have one. But at some point, over and over again, you're going to be faced with that same issue. How do you balance this situation where you have people, and most importantly, as has just been expressed, you have people who have followed the guidelines. I agree with Dee McKee. You follow all that guidelines, you go through the process, and you present it. If it's just a no, we don't care what you've done, then you have stifled public involvement in process, and that really doesn't work well. So finding some way, it's up to you. I don't have the solution, but finding some way to balance that is really the important thing. So thank you for listening.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else that would like to give some input to the assembly? Oh, do we? Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I'm back. I'm
That's okay.
Raymond Grogan, and I want to throw out some more quotes from our commissioners, our planning commissioners. These are great ones too, and I can't say I disagree with these as well. But we're speaking again just to lake management plans in general. And that's important to keep in note. I really think that this LMP needs to be pulled back and overhauled. And I've stated that out of context. I don't believe that the person who said that meant that it was looking specifically at Fuller Lake, because that hadn't begun yet. But it's a pretty powerful statement in and of itself. It's my least favorite. It's wrong in every way imaginable. That's just a passionate individual. I don't blame him for saying it. Totally unfair, wrong and unfair. A bridge too far for government. Now I'm starting to get riled up, but I'm sorry. What I would ask is that our assembly, we need to work this out, and we really do. I think every time an LMP comes to you, we're going to be posed with these same questions. It takes me back to the beginning. The water belongs to the state. Is it even legal that we're doing? We need to iron that one out right away. It's a little tiny lake. It's less than 100 yards wide at one point. 70 miles an hour on a little tiny lake. Put 4 of those out there. Let's bring some other folks. It's a little tiny lake. Add a 43rd, please. Thank you for listening again.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else that's here would like to testify? Okay, we have somebody online. Go ahead, who's ever online, please.
Good evening. This is Joanne Kohler and my husband, Michael Chipman, and we are homeowners on Fuller Lake. And I just wanted to let you know that we have participated in all the meetings. We have made all the votes. We have come to a consensus as a community. And our main wish is to preserve and safeguard the habitat on our small and shallow lake in order to protect the wildlife and nesting waterfowl. We approve this plan, and I really honestly would ask you to approve our plan. We've worked really hard to get this passed, and all these philosophical questions, I think you need to decide at another time. And that's all I have to say. And I do want to thank Rebecca for working really hard with our community of homeowners here. And I do thank the borough for listening to our application. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Did your husband want to speak too? Guess not. Okay. Do we have anybody else online, Kayla? Okay. One last chance for anybody that would like to give input to the assembly on this ordinance. Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt an ordinance 25-079.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
Before everybody starts debating, I need to make sure Assemblymember Gamble can speak. Can you press star two, Assemblymember Gamble, and make sure you're good? Star two. Okay, try star three. Do you have another phone? If you could text me. Madam Mayor, do you mind if we take a break so
Sure.
Assemblymember Gamble can be a part of the debate?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Till 7:30, or we need longer than that?
I don't know.
Okay, all right, well, let's try for till 7:30.
Assemblymember Gamble, we're taking a break. No, that's star three for the public.
Oh, it's just for.
Yeah.
Too complicated to remember. I know where the mute button is. Yeah, I know, right?
Assemblymember Gamble, you're unmuted. If you could speak, maybe we can hear you now. Can you check and make sure you're not muted on your phone? Your phone's not muted?
He did talk at the beginning of the meeting because he said he's here.
Yep. What?
He hung up. It's like maybe he has a land.
I don't know where he's at. I don't know.
You want me to try that?
For anybody that's on the phone trying to call in or called into the meeting, we are going to have to disconnect the line and reconnect it, and hopefully it will fix any issues we're having, so you'll have to call back in.
The conference has ended. You will now be disconnected. Goodbye. Welcome to the Synexus Conference Manager and joining conference.
Yeah, so you go to the borough website, but this is the state. So the borough. So
Outgoing audio check.
Incoming audio check.
Can you hear me now?
Assemblymember Gamble, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can. Don't mute.
Yay.
Caleb says do not mute yourself. Stay unmuted.
Okay, I won't.
Okay. Thank you, Caleb. Okay.
If I can have the assembly, please come back. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting back to order. We have a motion on the floor to adopt the ordinance 25-079.
Everybody back in the room. We are not on break anymore.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are at the point of discussion. The motion before you is to adopt ordinance 25-079. Do we have, we don't have, okay. Assembly, yes. Assembly, now is right, you're saying yes? Okay.
I'm sorry.
I mean, you're saying yes, you want to talk?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I wasn't sure what that ball meant.
I didn't want to say yes to something that I didn't mean to say yes
Yeah,
to.
right.
Um,
You're gonna buy us all pizza,
Yeah.
yes, I know.
Just a little bit about lake management plans, and then to speak to this. I certainly understand the concerns about too much being locked up, but I do see that the voters in their wisdom said, "Hey, we want you to have this power." They saw some kind of balancing act out there, and as to the rules in code, our natural gas LIDs are the same. They come to us, we don't have to approve them, but we honor what's there because the public expectation is there that, hey, we meet this standard, you're gonna approve it. So it's odd to me that the natural gas rules for making your neighbors pay for a service they don't want it's 54%. Only 54% of the neighborhood has to say yes, and the other 46% have to eat it. And I would like to see a higher percentage for that. I would like to see a higher percentage if you are going to ban personal watercraft, up higher percentage than, maybe there's a higher standard, 65%. I think 2/3 is kind of, when you have big things, 2/3 or 3/4. It also seems like there's a tweak to be made to ensure Mr. Billionaire Bezos or Musk or whoever those billionaires are don't come in and buy up all the land. I mean, we could tweak the code to say, hey, no matter how much land you own, you can only do 10% of the vote or something like that. You can set an upper limit on it. So I think those two things which came up could be tweaked. But to come back to the comment that was made about the Planning Commission didn't address this lake. I look at this lake, and we're not talking about a place where a bunch of people are coming in from outside to use it right now. I mean, you got one little path, I looked at it, one little path from Meadow Lakes. You're not going to carry it, unless you're a real burly, you're not going to be carrying your jet ski down there. So we're not, if you just look at this specific lake, it's 39 acres. Big Lake in comparison is 3,000 acres, and you don't have an access point where a bunch of folks are using it and you're cutting them off. And you've got a process that we set up and agreed to, and to Ms. McKee's point and some others, this community spent almost 2 years going through this process based on what we have in code. So I feel like they've followed the guidelines. They pass the measures that are there in code, and we should honor that. If we want to tweak the process and change the process, we can do that moving forward. And I would also say for this lake, if you can, come to some terms with your neighbors and you want to go back to a quiet hours thing or limited hours for jet skis, this community can come back and change that plan. So, based on what I've heard, based on the fact that they filed the guidelines, based on the size of this lake and the specifics of this lake, I'm going to support the community that went through the process for 2 years and vote to approve this.
Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
Speaking of the amount of time that people put in on this, when we did the Beverly Lakes thing, and it was just all upside down, and a lot of folks were unhappy, and I was talking about out in the lobby, and I said to one of the ladies, I said, well, you'd have another whack at it. You have to wait a certain length of time. I don't remember what that was, but you can go back and do it again. And she said, we worked 2 years on this. We are exhausted. And what's to say, if we come back and do it all right again, we're still going to get shut down. I think that's horrid when we're talking about this fuel tax thing, and so many people out there are saying you are not transparent. There's no corruption here. Never mind that. But you're not doing the will of the people. Everybody's telling you, we don't want this. Well, that's what we're doing here, where the people are telling us there that live there, we don't want these things, the majority of people, and they follow the law. How in the world? It's like winning the Super Bowl and then somebody comes along and says, now we changed the rules. You really didn't really win because we changed them, or we're not gonna honor it. I do not like that as a government representative of the people. If you tell somebody, you dot all these I's and cross all these T's. I was telling a lady in the audience, that's like a fire drill. You got to act as though it's the real deal. So it's kind of like putting these people through these jumps, acting like it's the real deal. And then they get there and they got it all done. And we say, no, don't think so. I think that sucks. I'm sorry, but it's outrageous and it's unjust and it's unfair. If we want to change something, we do it before we put these people through this kind of a process, because their heart is in it. It's not just some exercise in bureaucracy. These people did all the right things. They worked really hard. If you don't like that, go to Big Lake. It's 10 minutes down the road. You can go anywhere you want. But by the time you get your Sea-Doo up to speed here on this little 38, I heard 35 to 39 acres, you're on the other side. It's insane. That's just if I were a person out there, I'd be a lot louder than I am.
Further discussion? Assemblyperson Sumner?
Yeah, I have a few opinions on this. I'm going to be guilty of what some of the public comment was and start talking very broadly, but I promise I will get down to talk about Fuller Lake specifically. I don't think that regulations are the answer to everything. If you look at, country, the way the voters have voted nationally, they've said that regulations are undesirable, bloated regulations. We have a municipality not very far away that you can see when regulations run rampant what happens there. That's why people are moving out here. That's why some residents have moved to Fuller Lake. But there is some amount of regulation that is necessary. Your right to swing your arms ends when your fist hits someone else's face. A lake management plan, it does a couple of things, because the lakes in your backyard are not your property. They are the property of all the citizens in the state of Alaska. But if a lake management plan regulates, and in exchange for some freedoms, you limit liberties. You're limiting the liberty of not only the general public that can access that lake, but you're also limiting and regulating your neighbors, and you're limiting their freedom. So in my mind, the threshold for whether we should implement a lake management plan is not 60% of the respondent voters, because not responding is not the same as consent. And this vote, let's back this up a little bit. When I joined this assembly, the rest of you on the assembly asked me a question. You said if you had a lake where 50% of people wanted to ban watercraft and 50% did not want to ban watercraft, what would you do? And I said, well, I would do nothing. I would maintain status quo, because everyone that moved onto that lake under the assumption and the information that the lake would be the way it is now. Okay, so when I answered that, everyone on the assembly, I saw a lot of head nods. It made a lot of sense to you guys. The problem that I have with this lake management plan specifically is that it does not meet that threshold. There are 28 property owners, 29 if you count the borough, And of course, by code, we don't have a vote, which means no one asked the students at that school, no one asked the school board, no one asked the parents of the students at that school how they wanted access to be managed. So we don't know. But only 14 out of 28 want this lake management plan. And that does not meet the threshold where we should change things from status quo, in my mind. But they do have, and I'm making staff's help for this, they do have a threshold. There was 3 rounds of voting, and there were 15 out of 28 that voted for something. Could staff help me out and let me know what that was they voted for, 15 out of 28? Well, maybe we can get back to that.
Okay.
I mean, I do have some plans for lake management plans. I plan on addressing some of these issues and addressing the voter threshold to bring these forward. And yeah, I mean, I think we should, I did share the video of the planning commission meeting with the assembly via email, or sorry, Lonnie did a couple days ago. And you can see their rationale for, and they were very concerned about lake access. This lake has no public boat launch, so people using jet skis, those are neighbors. So this is neighbors regulating neighbors. But yeah, I mean, I would entertain an amendment if we can get an answer to this.
Okay. Go ahead.
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Sumner, just clarification, are you talking about the initial ballot?
I guess I am.
So, as all elections and ballots work, it's based on respondents. It's never based on total population. So it is specified in 1524.031 that it is based on respondents. The initial ballot of the 28 parcels, 19 ballots were returned in favor of the lake management plan. It was 15. So that is over 50%. The most responded ballot was the final one. We had 23, and 14 of those were in favor of the lake management plan. I, as staff, is my job outlined in 1524.031 to allow permissible amount of time. So it's 60 days. I send out letters, I send out emails, there's ads in the Frontiersman, and I speak to the community pretty regularly throughout the process to allow them time. I sent out draft plans. There is 30 days in between the draft plan that they receive to provide input if they want to change it. Every ballot has 60 days that they can return that ballot and vote to me. There are some people that don't receive certified mail because they're at work, so there's nobody there to sign for it. So we did come up with an internal policy where they can come into the planning department and vote via a notarized document to continue with this plan. So there is more than adequate amount of time and information provided to the parcel owners. It is not required of them to participate.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, I guess I was confused by that vote count. I thought there was a version of the lake management plan that did have more than half of the property owners in support of it. But since there is not a lake management plan that we have, in my mind, if you do not respond, that's a vote in the negative. You do not support it. So in my mind, I will not be supporting this lake management plan. I'll be voting against it because it just didn't meet a threshold. We don't have more than half of the people that live on the lake want to limit the access to the people that live on the lake and the rest of the public.
Assembly person thrown off. Go ahead, sir.
On the page 30 of our packet, it would be the letter that was mailed out on November 15, 2024. The ballot has a ban on personal watercraft as in one option, and another option, timeshare restrictions, personal watercraft use and follows, and it has the July 16 till September 15. So the people that received this ballot got only specifically on that ballot these two options. Is that correct?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Fanoff, that is correct. So typically, lake management plans only have a 2 ballot process. The first ballot would be the initiation. So 60% of respondents would have to reply to that first ballot. After the 3 meetings, the residents of Fuller Lake could not decide or come to a general consensus of if they wanted a ban on personal watercraft or if they wanted a timeshare option. And it wasn't fair to disregard the people's comments within the room. And so there was an executive decision made within the planning department to allow those people to respond adequately. So we're not in a room where you're having your hands up and voting, because that wouldn't allow people to properly present their own opinion.
So if I'm an owner on a lake that neither of these options are satisfactory, one's ban and the other one's partial ban, what's the option for the person that didn't want any change, the one that bought the lake and doesn't want any restriction? There was no third option to leave it as this. Why did that ballot was swayed specifically to this much, all the restrictions or half the restrictions, but not option with no restrictions?
That ballot was designed that way because that is what the community wanted. They were in agreement that restriction was desired, but it was at what level was restriction desired. If you didn't like the restriction, I would assume that you would have returned your ballot with a no.
No, there was no option no on there.
Yeah, you would have returned your final ballot saying no if you weren't in agreement with that restriction.
That's disingenuous to say that to people. I'm not saying you did that or anything, but the two options that were full ban or partial ban, July 16th, the summer that is already so short will only, according to that one, would have only started allowing July 16th. That's half of Alaskan summer, because after, mid-July to end of July, then there's a, so I think this was the way it was crafted, was already designed to not favor the people that wanted to have the freedom. That was, I guess, my first problem with that specific ballot. Some of the arguments that Ms. Strumman brought, I do think are very valid. I do think there's when people moved on any lake, it's a significant purchase of the house or the land, because the lakefront properties are a lot higher value, and we know the ones that have less restrictions or have no restrictions are even higher in value than the ones that do have restrictions. And I do think maybe from borough's perspective, the property will not, we were not gonna go and reassess the values. However, if somebody's selling it, I know personally, because my family member used to own a lakefront property that then had more restrictions put on, the value of the to a average buyer was less desirable, because now there was restrictions to that. So because how this ballot was designed, I cannot support it. And after talking to a few of the people that are on that lake, it was specifically kind of designed around 1 or 2 families that have personal watercrafts, and they didn't like that the family were really enjoying the lake during the several summer weekends that they have. So I don't think it's fair to them. So, and I hope you see my arguments too. And I have a lot more, but I think that's where I'll stop on this one.
Okay, further discussion, Assemblyperson McKee?
Yeah, somebody was, I don't know who it was that said it, but they said that everything was just going along smooth and all that. I think it was you in the pink shirt. That, yeah, maybe. I'm sorry, I wrote their name down, but I can't read it. Where everything was going well, and then some guy lugs, I guess it can be done. You can lug in a Sea-Doo through the access place. If one guy can do it, anybody else should be able to do it. And then everybody said, we don't want that. And they all got together. So we're looking at one guy has kind of screwed up everything for the rest of the people who, obviously, in the end, most of them don't want it. And then when I see the progress that's been made, you had 23 respond out of 28 by the time they finally got through the whole education process. That's why you go through it. Are they going to change their mind? How's this thing going to end up? That's what you're trying to do through that whole process, is educate people so that they can make an informed decision. Well, they did, and they said no. And that to me is kind of stunning, that difference. So I don't understand why we're at the same place we were before with Beverly Lakes. It's done deal. They won the Super Bowl. No, you didn't. We're taking it back from you. You can't have the trophy because why? I don't know. I can't see the logic on that side. Everybody knew going in that's state water. They let the people go through this whole process. They knew that the surface water belongs to the state. So don't pull the rug out from under them when they're done with this thing. They ought to be able, there ought to be some certainty, some predictability. So when people say we don't trust the government, man, I can see why. Sorry, very passionate about this.
Assemblyperson Gamble?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your patience. I have a couple of questions, actually more than a couple. First, for the attorney, I've heard a couple of times tonight it said that it is a state water body. So I would like to know, how can we legally regulate surface water movement, craft on a state water body? What allows us to do that?
Well, as you know, to acquire an additional power, you can get any power not prohibited by law from the voters. I'm not aware of any state law that says municipalities cannot regulate at all on lakes. There's a possibility we have some form of concurrent jurisdiction, but when you have a voter initiative, put it on the ballot, voters say, yes, the borough has the power to do this. There's a presumption of regularity. There's a presumption of legality. And unless and until somebody sues us and says, no, you can't do that. But when you're given the power by the voters under our state statutes, that's pretty compelling that we have the power to do it. And again, I'm not aware of any state law that says municipalities can't regulate. Now, there may be things like we couldn't allow people to pollute lakes because you have federal overlays, you have state overlays for things that are doing. But to my knowledge, if the state is not regulating, that doesn't mean we can't.
Okay, thank you. A couple questions for staff.
Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, Alex, can you tell me approximately how many other lake management plans we have in the borough of similar sized lakes with the same issues that have horsepower restrictions and restrict the use of the type of watercraft that can use the lakes?
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So there are 42 other lakes that have lake management plans and associated restrictions. The size of those lakes, I don't have that information off the top of I just don't have that information available to me, but there are 42 other lakes with restrictions.
Do many of them have the same 5 horsepower restrictions and the restrictions of personal watercraft, either a complete ban or partial bans?
To the mayor. So yes, I think I counted it earlier. It's somewhere, I think it's around 26 or so lakes that have a explicit ban on personal watercraft. I think that some of the older ones have restrictions on, for instance, they'll completely prohibit motorized watercraft, and I guess implicit would be that they also ban personal watercraft, but they might not have been contemplated in those earlier ones. So certainly over half of them prohibit personal watercraft.
Okay. Another question was, the lake management plan presented to the community council, and did they provide any feedback as a community council on it?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Gamble, the lake management plan at all processes was presented to the Big Lake Community Council or Meadow Lakes Community Council. They were provided with all the information. There was a website that was actively updated as changes were made through the community engagement process. They did not weigh in as they don't have the ability to vote on any of it, but they were made aware of the situation. It was also published in the Frontiersman. There was signs posted and mail sent out as well throughout the whole process to engage the community.
Thank you. And one last question for staff. I know that Fuller Lake is right next to Cloudy Lake, and I can't remember what the other lake is across Pittman that goes to the east. But when I did the salmon tour, the state had upgraded the culverts in the area because they did find fish, and that salmon were actually spawning through that area and were making their way down, I believe it's Meadow Creek, into the Big Lake drainage. So that is a critical fish habitat, and that lake is extremely shallow. I believe it's somewhere between 6 and 10 feet deep. And so the use of watercraft at high rates of speed disturbs, the shoreline and the bottom of that lake significantly. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblyperson Hours, go ahead.
Just a couple quick comments. One is this has been in place since 1995, and there's now 42 lakes. So what's that? Over 30 years. This isn't a sea. One thing I haven't seen in my 6 years here is anybody coming back with from those plans, chewing our ear about it. It seems like those have pretty much worked for the community. Those ones are on. And then if we, back to this plan specifically and the rules that we set out for people, if we're going to count non-votes, if we're going to change that for lake management plans, we need to change that for natural gas LIDs too. So we need to treat people fairly. And I couldn't say it better than Ms. McKee. Like, you're the Super Bowl. We gave you the rules. You follow them, and you spend a lot of time following them.
Okay, I don't see anybody else wants to say anything, and I believe we do have an objection. Oh, Assemblyperson.
I'm gonna, can I ask staff Alex a question? Because there was a question asked him earlier during the break, but I didn't say. Originally, whenever many years ago, the 3 lakes that were passed on, like you said, there was lake management, Wasilla, Cottonwood, and Finger Lake. Is that correct? The one that you showed me.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the original 1758, which is different than lake management plans, that wasn't adopted till a few years later, but the original lakes that were regulated per this initiative was Cottonwood Lake, Finger Lake, and Wasilla Lake.
All with the same rules, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. What was the restriction on personal watercraft on those lakes? Do you know? Or was there anything? Or what was the main regulation? Is it the hours, or was there a horsepower restriction or anything like that in there?
Yeah, so there's noise control, there's no wake zone, and hours of operation. And then if you want a special events, you have to get a permit. And then Finger Lake has a special provision for airboats.
Okay. So, but when we're looking at this 25079 and the one that we're looking, neither the Finger Lake or Cottonwood Lake is not on that list because they're not part of the lake management plan. Is that correct?
Right. They're regulated under a separate section of code.
Okay. But you're saying the same code applies to Finger Lake, Wasilla, and Cottonwood. However, I know for sure that when I used to have at least personal watercraft, we were allowed to go to Wasilla, Finger Lake, but not the Cottonwood Lake. Where was there just lack of enforcement, or there was different, or there was actually a different set of rules? Because I am almost pretty sure that you're not allowed to be on the jet ski on the Cottonwood Lake, or am I was informed and I actually had privilege of using all of them before?
So through the mayor.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
So to Assemblymember Fonov, it sounds like there might have been some misinformation because as far as I can tell, other than airboats, those 3 lakes are regulated identically under this provision of 17.58.
Okay, interesting. On the ones that lake management have passed, several dozen of them, who is enforces those rules?
That is the Matsu Borough Planning Department.
Okay. In, let's say, this year so far, specifically on the lake management plan, do you know approximately number of citations that were issued for somebody trying to put up? Do you have any of those numbers, or? Because we don't actively regulate unless somebody complains, correct? Is that kind of how it goes?
So, through the mayor,
Go ahead.
we focus, as far as enforcement of lake management plans, we focus most of our efforts on education and outreach. And we put up signage. We actually have gone out on boats and talked to people, educated them. We have met people back at a public boat launch when they arrived back and either given warning notices or citations. I'm not aware if we've given any citations this year.
Okay.
My guess is probably no, but it's not out of the realm of.
Okay, but if it was a minimal or almost, it's not like a common
Correct.
problem.
We don't own any jet skis with little sirens or anything like that, so enforcement's a little tricky. But most of our effort is education outreach, and the vast majority of people follow the regulations when they know the regulations.
Okay, so 9 people that voted against this thing, obviously they probably have a strong opinion too, and they're in minority in this case. So if hypothetically, if they put the next year, if we pass this and they put it on next year, what is the mechanism in place currently that will somebody goes write them a ticket, or the neighbor goes the citizen arrest, or how does that work?
Go ahead, sir.
So typically, we will get a complaint that people are not abiding by the rules, and we will, generally ask them like, okay, typically what time of day can we access your property and go witness this ourselves? We will try to contact that person and say, hey, we want to make you aware that these regulations exist. We'll inform them of the regulations. And if we are able to get an eyewitness, if we were able to actually visually see it ourselves or have somebody who's willing to testify in court, we could issue a citation or just keep it at a warning notice. It's officer discretion.
Okay, but that would be the code compliance. We don't have a special police on the boats and things like that. We don't have that part, right?
When we cannot pull people over. We generally would try to meet them at the dock. Or if we have an idea of, usually people will know where they live because it's a small community, and we will go visit them and talk to them there.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, I believe, Deputy Mayor?
I may have a conflict of interest. I
Okay.
wanted to bring that forth. I put 9 houses in that subdivision, even to this St. George's here on their property. I built their home and did their concrete. I just want to be forth, let everybody know that. And so if I have a conflict of interest, I'd like to be excused.
And how many properties did you say?
7 for ACDC, Alaska Community Development Corporation. We did, and then the St. George's, and then up on top we put a shop in for, I forget the gentleman's name, but
Okay, already. And how long ago were all of those activities?
7 years ago. It was before cancer there. Yeah.
But you do not have any contracts at this time or within
Negative.
the last half a dozen years or something? Do you feel that you can fairly vote on this without being grieved in your spirit regarding it? Can you be objective?
Yep.
You can. Okay. All right. So I will rule that you don't have a conflict then.
Okay.
Alrighty, Madam Clerk, go ahead and take the roll.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote.
The motion before you is to accept ordinance 25-079.
Yes adopts it, no doesn't.
Sorry.
Yes, yes, if you're adopting.
And what are you adopting exactly? The
Lake
lake
management plan.
Yeah.
So if I am as passionate as I am about it, I'm voting yes, right? Okay, just want to make really sure, because last time I kind of screwed up one time.
Assemblymember Bernier, I don't have your vote yet. Oh, thank you, sir.
Mine's not voting.
You already voted, Assemblymember McKee.
I voted 5 times, yeah. It wasn't lighting up.
Assemblymember Gamble.
We cannot hear you, sir, if you have voted. We didn't
Is he on the phone? Did you mute?
I heard something.
Did he just hang up or did he just unmute himself? Assemblyperson Gamble?
Do you want to try to call in with the other phone? If you do, I can't take your vote via text, Assemblymember Gamble. Can you call in on the other phone? He said, just a minute. If that doesn't work, we'll try something.
Okay.
We can take it just a little at ease as he calls back in, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Anybody know some good jokes? Anybody been to the fair and been like, where'd all these people come from?
I can tell you the people have found the back way to the fair.
Yeah, yeah. That's one nice thing about living in the Palmer area.
Can you hear me now?
For a
We
period
can
of
hear
time,
you,
know.
Assemblymember Gamble.
Yes, I vote yes.
Thank you, sir. Madam Mayor, it is a tie vote with Assemblymember Nowers. Where are you, McKee? Can I get the members in the room to go ahead and vote again? Sorry. Somebody, you abstain this time, Assemblymember McKee? I'm going to take your vote via voice vote. But if I can get everybody else in the room to go ahead and vote. I'm going to ignore the
Abstention.
Assemblymember McKee. A voice vote. Voice vote. Can you turn on your mic?
Yep.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, it is a tie vote with Assemblymember Nowers, Bernier. Oh, let's see. It passed, excuse me. Excuse me, you got 4. It passed with Assembly members Fonoff and Sumner opposed.
Hallelujah.
Okay.
Can you go down in
Oh.
Assemblymember McKee, we are going to try to fix your voting thing. We're going to unplug it.
Oh, I'm really glad about that, because
Yeah. Okay.
oh, that makes me happy. You know, some of these things you take on as if they were your own thing, because you get so.
Yes, please, whenever you're ready, ma'am.
The next item on our agenda is ordinance 25083, an ordinance accepting and appropriating $18,000 from the Alaska State Department of Natural Resources, Office of History and Archaeology for the DePriest Family Farm National Registered Nomination Project with accompanying resolution 2569. A resolution approving the scope of work and budget and authorizing the manager to enter into a state grant agreement and the agreement with the DePriest Family Trust for the DePriest Family Farm National Register nomination. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Okay. Hello, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Once again, Alex Strawn, Planning Director for the borough. This is regarding DePriest Family Farm, which is out on the Springer system, and it's the iconic picture of the barn with Pioneer Peak in the background. Back in March, the Assembly authorized us to pursue a grant to for this farm to get it listed with the Alaska Office of History and Archaeology, or the grant was through them. We did get the grant for $30,000. $18,000 would come from the Office of History and Archaeology. 40% match, which is $12,000, would come from the DePriest family. The purpose of the grant is to conduct research and prepare documents in order to list the farm on the National Register of Historic Places. And what that would do would make them eligible for future grant funding to rehabilitate historic structures on the property. And so
Okay.
this would allow us to enter into a memorandum of agreement and issue that funding.
Questions of staff? Assemblyperson McKee, would you turn your mic off unless you want to talk to me? Okay. All righty. So that's easy here. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-083 and resolution 25-069. We do not have a sign-up sheet. Anyone in the audience who would like to testify in either this ordinance or this resolution? Do we have anybody online, sir? We do not. Okay, I'll go ahead and close public hearing, and Assemblyperson Nowers.
I move to adopt ordinance 25-083 and resolution 25-069, and I can speak briefly to it.
Sure.
The Priest family has a long history in the valley, and don't take a picture of her barn and not ask for permission first. That's the inside one. But they have a long history. That barn is very iconic. I believe it's part of the colonists. So the fact that it's got that history, and the family is putting up $12,000 towards this, and the state's 18. So I think this is a great thing, and I hope you'll approve it.
Further discussion by the Assembly. Is there any objection to the ordinance and resolution? Seeing no objection, then the ordinance and resolution have been adopted.
Ordinance 25086, an ordinance enacting MSB 110-180, limited health powers from the cities. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3. Mr. Sparopoulos is doing the staff report.
Oh,
Madam
yep.
Mayor.
There you are. Mr. Attorney, go ahead.
So there's over $50 billion worth of national opioid settlement funds being distributed from several manufacturers and distributors of opioids. Comes as a result of settlements from years and years and years of litigation of the harms caused by opioids on communities. To receive settlement funds, the municipality has to have over 10,000 people. In Alaska, there's 9 municipalities that meet that criteria. We're one of them. It's a mathematical formula. It's based upon population. So the state gets a chunk, municipalities get a chunk of the overall pie, all 50 states, all municipalities. There are several different agreements. It's all at opioidsettlement.com. You can look at them. And so we got this money. Somebody approved accepting the settlements, signing on as a settlement, and approved the manager to continue to sign on to other settlements. Mr. Hayes and I had a discussion earlier this week, yesterday, in fact, because more settlements are coming. There's been the Purdue family, people might have seen was in the news. They tried to declare bankruptcy to get out of having to pay. Anyway, so the borough got some money, and a few months back, it was about $720,000 at that time. And what happened was the borough then tried to use it in accordance with the settlement agreement. So in the packet tonight, you can see attached to the IM that goes along with this, there's an exhibit with all the national opioid settlement agreements. The lawyers for the companies were like, okay, yes, we're going to give you this money, but you can't spend it on things like pencils and typewriters and computers and, you know, general office furniture and custodians. They wanted it for opioid remediation uses. So there's this exhibit that has several examples of allowed uses. And when we first got the money, again, working with George Hayes in this, it turned out that as a second-class borough, the borough has very, very, very limited ability to use this money in accordance with what's allowed, because we also have to comply with our powers and duties as a second-class borough. For example, you could train police on opioid overdose and treatment and administering, the anti-drugs, the naloxone. We don't have a police department, and we can't have a police department, so we can't do that. So to cure that, we met with the cities and talked to the cities about them transferring us powers. 3 ways to get powers as a second-class borough in the state of Alaska. 1 is the legislature gives them to you. 2 is the voters give them to you. And the 3rd is the cities can transfer their powers to you, and if they do, then it becomes an area-wide power. We can do it everywhere. So the city of Houston transferred a limited power, only the power to spend this money for these purposes for as long as we get it. The city of Houston did it February 13th. Wasilla followed up March 10th. Palmer, July 8th. So now that all cities have granted us these powers, this is the ordinance A, to accept the power, and then B, to exercise the power. And I'll turn it over to George Hayes. The intent here is, we're going to get a few $1 million over the next decade or so, and the intent is to shovel it out into the community for things like handoff services, case management, prevention programs, opioid disorders, welfare development, support recovery, potentially pregnancy support services, inpatient. As I've explained to the cities, the borough, I don't think has any plans to get into the treatment business itself. Rather, this is going to be a grant program. And, George can talk about, setting up a grant committee, and we asked the cities to participate as well, so they'll each have a seat on it as well. And then grants will be scored and handed out. So this is really a mechanism to get this money out of our coffers into the community for the good it was supposed to do. This is a limited transfer of powers by the cities. Any city can revoke their transfer for any reason or no reason because it's an ordinance. And likewise, if the borough doesn't want to do it anymore, we can revoke this ordinance at any time. Can't bind future assemblies, can't keep these city councils bound to their ordinances either, but they're going to be part of the program here. So we anticipate a good, productive relationship. We anticipate getting the money out the door and go. This is the legal mechanism to get that done. And then Mr. Hayes will be dealing with the actual grant administration part of it. So that's all I have on my end, unless there's any questions.
Okay, questions to staff? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-086. We do have a sign-up sheet. Mike?
My name is Michael Bowles, Mayor, Assistant Manager, correct? Assistant, not Deputy Manager, and members of the Assembly. Thank you for listening to me this evening. So I'd like to speak about how, as a constituent, I'd like to see this money used. I am fairly knowledgeable in this settlement. One ordinance that did concern me is the ordinance at the bottom of the agenda. That talks about peer-to-peer training for firefighters. Outstanding training, I read it, but it does not address opioid or using Narcan, and those sorts of things. So if you look at the settlement and what these funds are supposed to be used for, like the attorney said, they're supposed to be used for opioid remediation purposes. So I'd like to read from Johns Hopkins University. I sent this link to everybody today too via email. They have 5 principles on how these settlement funds should be used. The first principle is to spend the money to save lives. That should be the first priority. Second principle is to use evidence to guide the spending. Third principle, invest in youth prevention. So in the schools, educating youth about the horrible, horrible effect of opioid addiction. Principle 4, focus on racial equity. And principle 5, develop a fair and transparent process for deciding where to spend the funding. So another area I'd like to talk about in my minute and a half is something that's happening in other states that I think that the borough could do. They could use these funds to help fund the EMS system. EMS in other states are starting to get buprenorphine or Suboxone on board of patients that are going into opioid overdose, and they're saving lives. So right now Narcan's used. So EMS gets called out, somebody's overdosing, Narcan's on board. They get taken to the ER, they're revived. Oftentimes they're just sent back out and told to get to their primary care provider or counselor.
they go and find their drug of choice again, because coming off the Narcan, they're going into immediate withdrawals, which is extremely a terrible process for someone that's addicted to opioids. So what's happening now is, in some states and here in Alaska, it's starting to happen, is EMS, after they get Narcan on board, they bring somebody back, they're immediately getting Suboxone on board. Okay, and what that is buprenorphine. So that gets somebody to come down off the withdrawals. It relaxes their body, and they immediately have that life-saving drug on board to start the process of coming off the addiction. So once they're treated in the ER, they've got Suboxone on board. They're going, they're already en route to recovery, so that in a day 3 after their ER visit, they go see a case manager, like the gentleman earlier talked about. They've already got the drug on board, so they have that bridge. So I would like to see that happen in the borough. I'm sure everybody here knows somebody that's been addicted to opioids. It's a terrible thing to watch somebody you love go through. I know people that have died from it, soldiers that I served with in the Army. A lot of people you may not know are addicted. So I would ask that you please use these funds for people that are addicted, and to get the education to adolescents that this fentanyl garbage is extremely popular right now. They're mixing it with xylazine. They call it trank. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's terrible. It's causing wounds. People are losing
Can you
limbs.
wrap it up, sir?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Anyone else that would like to testify on this ordinance?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And again, I'm David Wilson, Director of Public Policy for the Mat-Su Health Foundation, Borough resident. Your borough attorney and I have been around the cities jointly testifying in the Tri-Cities for the Mat-Su Health Foundation in support of the opioid settlement funds. My prior role, I served on the Governor's Advisory Council on Opioid Remediation as an ex officio, as a former legislator, and he's right about $85 million over 18 years. And currently there's about 3 grantees in the Mat-Su borough who sort of get funds, and so this will allow more opportunity for more borough residents can go ahead and benefit from this opportunity. So on behalf of the Mat-Su Health Foundation, I'd like to express our support for Ordinance Serial 25-086. This ordinance represents a significant step forward in promoting health and well-being for Mat-Su residents. At the Mat-Su Health Foundation, our mission is to improve the health and wellness of Alaskans living in the Mat-Su borough, and we believe this ordinance aligns with our goals, enabling the effective use of the funds of the National Opioid Settlement Funds to address the opioid crisis in our community. This implementation of this ordinance will allow the Mat-Su borough to utilize these funds and enhance the public health initiatives to reduce the health risk associated with opioid misuse and support recovery programs. This proactive measure will significantly contribute to creating a healthier and safer environment for all Mat-Su residents. We commend the borough for taking this important step and urge the Assembly to adopt this ordinance, and the Mat-Su Health Foundation as always stands ready to support the borough in any way we can to ensure the successful implementation of this ordinance, and that includes possibly providing technical assistance and help and guidance of anything that the Mat-Su borough may need, or the grantees in future down the road, to make sure that we can help with the full implementation of this ordinance from this Assembly. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to testify on this ordinance? Do we have anybody online, sir? We do not. Okay, one last chance. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 25-086.
Okay. Discussion by the Assembly. Yeah. Assemblyperson Palmer.
Quick question, Mr. George. I know previously we've had opened the grant opportunities for certain organizations in the past that we issued. Is this the same money that we have before that we're going to continue to disperse to local organizations, or is this a new sum of money?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Ponoff, it is the same money. In fact, the grant for training and education is still open right now. And we have that portion that Mr. Bowles was talking about before you tonight, but that's different subject, but it is the same money. We're just adding to it. And last week, we got in another 4 sets of grants coming to us. We don't have that money, but it's about another 113,000 that will be added to that 750,000 roughly odd that's there now. So as the attorney mentioned, it will be about 2 to 3 million. We don't know exactly because a lot of additional members who got sued, I guess, are now settling. And so it will be somewhere between 2 and 3 million, but it is the same money.
Is it 2 and 3 million before the end of this whole, or that's the amount that we currently have that we're ready to disperse?
The projection is and was from the beginning that this would be spread over an 18-year period. And so it would tentatively go until 2038. We are in year 5 right now. And I can tell you that if this passes tonight, then the manager and I are putting together, with a lot of help from others, the plan on how we would spend this and the grant money and where it would go. The percentages are all laid out in legislation that you passed in 2023, and that specifically was 30% to treatment, 30% for prevention, 10% for recovery, and 10% for harm reduction.
Okay, and so currently, not future, but currently, with the one that we're going to have soon, how much amount are we going to have that is going to be ready to be given to the community? Do you know?
Currently, it's roughly 850,000. However, we will bring back to you a plan that the manager would like to spread that and not give it all out in 1 year, because we've got 5 years worth. He'd like to spread that out over a 3 to 5 year plan where when we award a grant, it's not just for 1 year. It would be, as long as they were making satisfactory progress, it would be over a 3-year term. They would get a grant of, let's say, 10,000 every year for 3 years, as an example.
Okay, good. Yeah, we really support that, and I know some of the organizations that previously got partially, and they were really thankful, and they were able to do a lot of good work with it. So thank you. Yeah, I'll support it.
Okay, further questions to staff or discussion by the assembly? Is there any objection to passing ordinance 20?
May I ask
Oh,
a
I'm
question?
sorry.
Yeah,
Assembly
and this may
Person
be
Key.
too specific a question, but I was reading one time a report in the paper that a lady had called 13 times to get the Narcan. Is there anything in the works for people getting it, people coming up and saying, I'm an opioid addict, can I have some Narcan or something? Do they do that? That might be too
I
nuts and
guess
bolts.
that's the attorney's opinion, because we don't have a health powers, right? So I don't know how we do.
No,
Maybe
because
he can tell him.
that's the point of this ordinance, is that in that exhibit that talks about all the allowed uses, it'll be, you can then have that discussion.
Yeah, okay.
The whole point of this ordinance tonight is to then have that discussion. How are we going to get this out? How, right? This is the legality covering that, yes, if you see it in Exhibit E, you can spend the money on it. And then, how it gets to the community, who the grantees are, what their programs are, that's all for the granting committee that, Mr. Hazel will bring forward back and administer and go forward. This is the legality of being able to even have that conversation.
Okay. Any other questions from the assembly? Is there any objections to ordinance 25-086 passing? Okay, I don't see any, so ordinance has been adopted. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 25087, an ordinance amending MSB 52504A, service area number 27, Meadow Lakes Road Service Area, and placing on the ballot of the November 4th, 2025 regular borough election, the annexation of parcels located on West Manain Street, West Elvis Lane, and a portion of North Utopia View Circle into the Meadow Lakes Road Service Area with accompanying resolution 25075, a resolution defining the annexation of parcels located on North Manain Street, West Elvis Lane, and a portion of North Utopia Circle into the Meadow Lakes Road Service Area serves the public interest in placing the question before the voters in the November 4th, 2025 regular borough election. And Madam Mayor, a petitioner came forward to annex 20 parcels into the Meadow Lakes Road Service Area. They gathered the required number of signatures for the clerk to certify the petition. This annexation would require going forward to ballot. There would be a question that goes forward to the existing people in the Meadow Lakes Road Service area and to the people requesting annexation into the road service area. Both those ballot propositions would have to pass for the annexation to occur. The Meadow Lakes Board of Supervisors supports the annexation. A letter went out to all the property owners in the proposed area, letting them know when it was before the assembly. And that is it. Unless there's any
thank you.
questions.
Any questions of staff? Okay, so I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-087.
Hi, good evening. My name is Esther Huddleston, Huddleston. I'm a road service area Meadow Lakes board member, and at our last meeting, we were a board member of 5 board members, and 4 was present, and we unanimously voted in support of this. And I guess from my understanding, the city of Wasilla has been maintaining the area, but it's actually in the borough, and so that's why we're supporting it. Thank you.
Thanks, sister. Anyone else who would like to testify on this ordinance? Do we have anybody online, sir? We do not. Okay. I'll go ahead and close public hearing, and Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 25-087 and resolution 25-075.
Okay. Discussion by the assembly. Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Ron, take your roads.
Any objection to the ordinance and resolution passing? Okay, so they are adopted. The legislation passes, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 25088, an ordinance annexing all of Lot 4A, Homestead Hills Phase 2 into the Greater Butte Road Service Area with accompanying resolution. 25076, a resolution finding the annexation of all of Lot 4A, Homestead Hills Phase 2 into the Greater Butte Road Service Area serves the public interest. Madam Mayor, this was a homeowner that was in a platting process, and one of their properties got expanded. And if you see the map, you'll see that the original shape of the property was in the road service area, but then the expansion of that property in the platting process was now outside the road service area. Code does not allow that to happen, so there is a note on the plat that this portion of that property needs to be annexed into the road service area. Petitioner came forward, they had the petition got certified. This type of annexation does not have to go to the ballot because you can't. The only way to get to this property is through an existing road service area. The Greater Butte Road Service Area Board of Supervisors, the primary came to the original meeting. She had no issue with it. However, they were not able to get a quorum to have a meeting to discuss this as a board. A letter went out to the property owners letting them know that legislation would be before the assembly tonight.
Okay, thank you. Questions to staff? Okay, so I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-088 and resolution 25-076. Anyone that would like to testify on this ordinance or resolution? Okay, go ahead, whoever's online, please.
Yes, this is Julie Nystrom calling for John and Julie Nystrom of the property owners. Thank you, Mayor and Assembly members. And I'm just calling in if there's any questions.
Okay. It's not a time, this is public hearing, sir, sorry. This is not a time for the assembly to ask any questions. Once the public hearing is closed, then the assembly will take consideration, Spam. So, do you have any further testimony you'd like to give?
No, just wanted to be on hand in case it was necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And that's the only person we had online? Okay. Anyone here? Okay, I'll close the public hearing, and I don't believe Assemblyperson Hale has joined us, right? Okay, so Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 25-088 and resolution 25-076.
Okay, discussion by the Assembly. Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just, so I understand the map and what Lonnie said, that the parent parcel, the original parcel is taking new land is already part of the road service area, correct?
Correct.
Okay, further questions, discussion by the Assembly? Okay, is there any objection to the ordinance and resolution by the Assembly? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then the legislation passes. Now we are to the next audience participation. Don't think we have a sign-up sheet. So anybody, let's see. Okay, let's see. Esther, you didn't testify under the first public hearing.
did not.
Okay, I mean the first audience participation. So go ahead and go.
Good evening. My name is Esther Huddleston. I just wanted you guys to be aware, even though you're placing restrictions on state-owned lakes, anyone can go to the State of Alaska Department of Natural Resources and apply for a special use permit as defined in 11 AAC 18-010. And even though you restricted a lake in the borough, but because it's state-owned, as long as they have that permit, they can drive any type of watercraft that they get the permit for. And I hope for the remaining lakes that are unrestricted, that an assembly member writes an ordinance to reserve those lakes for the people of Alaska. We have enough lakes restricted. If people don't like the restriction, they need to take their responsibility to have a realtor show them those lakefront properties that have restrictions. And then in regards to the gas tax, my suggestion, instead of increasing all of our goods and services, to implement a tax on marijuana. And I think the public would be more supportive of a marijuana tax. And then in regards to animal control, the Matsu Borough having control of it, I support the Matsu Borough continuously have control of animal control and not outsource it to private, because we have leash laws. We have people who have aggressive dogs in the area. Who's going to enforce that? That's my concern about privatizing animal control. It's kind of a safety issue. A kid in the borough was on a playground and some dog attacked him, ripped off his ear. You know, if you privatize it, are they going to be able to have the authority to euthanize that dog? And those are questions to keep in mind when you think about privatizing the animal control. Thank you.
Thanks, Esther. Anyone else would like to address the, let's see. You didn't testify under the first, yeah. Okay, come on.
Michael Bowles again. So I just wanted to answer Assemblyperson McKee's question. So there is a state program. It's called Project Hope, and anybody can reach out to Project Hope. They provide Narcan and Narcan kits free to programs, but anybody that needs Narcan or thinks that they may, reach out to Project Hope. It's with the Department of Health. And while I'm up here, I just wanted to speak to this ordinance passing. I think it's a very good thing. I appreciate the Assembly passing that ordinance. You have an opportunity here to save lives. This is, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Assembly does, what the borough does over the next 10, 15 years with this. I go to these national conferences. This is part of my job, and I see and I hear about these things that are happening. And it's here in Alaska. We are one of two states where opioid fatalities have gone up and not down. So it is here. It's going to, as the borough grows, it's going to increase. And as it comes from Anchorage up here, it's going to increase. So I really appreciate the borough's efforts in addressing this. And as far as this training, if this training holds, please integrate Narcan training into the firefighters. Train those firefighters how to get Narcan on board. So if they get somewhere and house fire or whatever, car fire was started because somebody's overdosed, which happens a lot, they can get Narcan on board, save that person's life, and then go from there. Hopefully get some Suboxone on board once the borough maybe takes up my recommendation. So thank you.
Anyone else? Do we have anybody online? We do not. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close audience participation.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I have to leave for a flight, so I'm gonna hop on the phone, but I'm gonna leave here in
Okay.
person if that's okay, if I can be
Okay.
excused.
Should we give you a minute or two, or are you okay?
That would, if you give me 30 seconds, that'd be great.
Okay, okay, 30 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, maybe 45.
Oh, okay, all right. Do
I could read the consent agenda if you'd like.
Well, I don't know if anybody wants to pull anything.
Oh, you
so
gotta
I
ask.
want her
Okay,
to hear
got it.
that, Yeah. Okay, so we're at the point of the consent agenda. Does the assembly have anything they want to pull? Yes,
I have a question about AM 25108, and I'd like to just have the opportunity to pull that and discuss it just.
Okay, 108. Does anybody else have, yes, assembly person Sumner?
Since we're polling 108, I'd like to also poll, I'm trying to find it. AM 25098. And then I'd also like to pull 25077, resolution 25077 and resolution 25078.
So, okay, so give that to me again. 098, and then what was the next one, sir?
Where's 098?
Resolution 077 and 078.
Okay. Okay, ma'am, you have all of that? Okay. Alrighty. So then, Madam Clerk, if you will read.
Resolution 25079, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for Michelle Drive Bridge at Willow Creek Lewis Loop Bridge. Am I missing something? Bear with me.
Was resolution 077 one of them that was pulled?
079 is the one I should be starting with. 077 and 078 were pulled.
Okay, good.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
A resolution approving the amended budget for Linda Lake Portage Beaver Lake. Excuse me, I'm going to start again. 079, a resolution approving the scope of work and budgets for the Michelle Drive Bridge at Willow Creek, Lewis Loop Bridge, Fish Creek, and King Salmon Drive Bridge on Cottonwood Creek, and approving the time extension of the area-wide budget appropriation and fund balance appropriation for the 2024 Shoshana Drive at Matanuska-Susitna. Resolution 25071, a resolution directing the clerk to place additional information regarding the fuel excise tax in the election brochure for the voters. There's one resolution, Madam Mayor, that is on the agenda that got amended, but it is not on what was handed out to you guys. Bear with me. That's why I stopped.
Okay.
A resolution to submit an advisory question to the qualified voters of the borough at the November 4th, 2025 regular borough election to enact a 7-cent per gallon motor fuel tax for 1.5 years.
And that's resolution 25-082.
I'm sorry?
082. That's what my notes say. Resolution 25-082.
Correct.
Okay. I have it on
And then-
mine. Okay.
Yeah, you do. It didn't get the amended version did not get printed out.
Okay.
AM 25092, however, I want to make sure that everybody knows it was online. It did get advertised correctly.
Okay.
AM 25092, approval of change order number 2 to the E911 and dispatch services agreement Number 16100P, modifying the contract language and increasing the annual cost by $340,000 in fiscal year 2026 for additional dispatchers. AM 25102, awarded bid number 2612B to Granite Construction Company for the contract amount of $338,032.40 to deliver salted sand and road chips for fiscal year 2026 road maintenance Schedule A. AM 25103, awarded bid number 2612B to Western Construction and Equipment for the contract amount of $231,870 to deliver salted sand and road chips for fiscal year 2026 road maintenance Schedule B. AM 25104, awarded bid number 2615B to Orion Construction for the contract amount of $193,400 to supply and install new crematory at Animal Care. AM 25105, awarded bid number 2619B to K&H Civil Constructors for the contract amount of $1,296,157 for the Settlers Bay Drive pavement preservation. AM 25107, awarded bid number 26022B to QAP for the contract amount of $654,523 to construct East Lakeview Road pavement preservation.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
I move to approve the consent agenda as read into the record by the clerk.
Okay. Is there any objections to those that the clerk read into the record? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then that portion has been approved, Madam Clerk.
Resolution 25077, a resolution amending the scope of work for the Wasilla Pool Drain and Backlash Pit repairs to include Americans with Disabilities Act and safety upgrades at a recreational facilities, including the purchase of an Americans with Disabilities compliant pool chair lift, automatic door with access control, locker room security doors, and entrance door crash bars. This was pulled by Assemblymember Sumner.
Assemblymember Sumner,
So I need to move the ordinance first, right?
please. Yeah, the resolution first.
Sorry. I move resolution 25077.
Okay, now would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, given the recent discussion about revenue and where we get our money from and how we spend our money, because that's the second part of where we get our money. These two resolutions, I pulled them because I just wanted to, and there might be a couple others that I missed in here, but I just wanted to shine a light on these. These are, people talk about government graft or government waste. These are basically the administration is moving monies from other projects to more projects. Like, so basically we have projects that came under budget. We actually saved money over what we projected, and we're spending that money on getting more bang for our buck from the taxpayers' dollars. So that's the reason I pulled these two resolutions. I don't really have any questions on them. I just think that, we should probably take a look at this, instance of the administration doing a really efficient job.
Okay, further discussion on resolution 25-077. Deputy Mayor, do you have a point? No, you don't need to make a motion. Your light's just on. Okay, all right. Is there any objection to the approval of RS 25-077? Okay, seeing no objection, then it's passed. And now go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Resolution 25078, a resolution approving the amended budget for Lida Lake, Portage, and Beaver Lake Road and Birch Creek tributary at Mastodon Road Fish Passage, and approving the time extensions of the area-wide budget appropriations for Fish Passage Birch Creek tributary at Mastodon Road Match Fund and a Fish Passage Nicholson Lake at Home Built Circle Match Fund.
Okay, Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move resolution 25-078.
Okay.
So this one's the same as the previous one, except that this project that came under budget itself was funded by a previous project that came under budget. So we actually have a project that came under budget that funded another project that came under budget that's now funding a third project. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on resolution 25-078? Any objections? Okay. Hearing none, then Madam Clerk.
AM 25098, authorization to purchase a tanker fire apparatus for the Willow Caswell Fire Service Area Number 140 for general fire apparatus Rosenbauer for the amount of $626,846 pulled by Assemblymember Sumner.
Okay, Assemblymember Sumner, go ahead.
I move AM 25-098.
Okay, do you have a discussion or something?
I'm just gonna, Ken read my mind. I had some questions about this and the one that Assemblymember McKee pulled, and so I went and talked to Ken about it ahead of time. So I think it'd be best just to have him explain the disparity between two different pumpers. You know, you have like a 60% difference in the price between, you know, a brand new pumper and a refurbishment on a pumper. You know, so it jumped out at me. I'm sure it did to you guys as well.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Assembly, and staff. Ken Barkley, Director of Emergency Services. So, AM 25098. This is a tender. A tender brings water, and that's its only function to a fire. It brings water. And the reason the price, and I hate even using this word low, at when you're talking $600,000, but what happens is every manufacturer will send some of their trucks through their process, through the plant. They're not purchased. There's no one assigned to them. They're not building them for anybody, but they'll go through the process. And they'll offer them out to different service areas. And we happen to have another group of ours down at the plant saw that that truck was one of those that was going through the process without being assigned to anybody. And you can get those a lot cheaper when that happens. It happens maybe a few times a year, depending on the company. So Willow Caswell needs a tender, and it was in their CIPs. It was also in the budget through the process that we recently went through. So when this one came up at a lot less than what we were expecting to spend, we put our name on it right away, and that's what happened. The other bonus to this truck is most of the trucks now are a 2-year waiting list. This one would be here in a few months. So that's the other advantage to it. So
good.
And I'm going to say it's a cost savings of probably close to $300,000. So that's the reason for that pricing.
Okay. Any other questions from Assembly? Is there any objection to approving AM 25-098? Okay, hearing no objection, that's been approved. Madam Clerk.
AM 25108, authorization to purchase 2010 Pierce Velocity Pumper refurbishment services from Hughes Fire Equipment for the amount of $1,018,973, and it was pulled by Assemblymember McKee.
Okay, Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
I move AM 25-108.
Okay, you have a question, ma'am?
Yeah, and I'm sure Ken is going to absolutely give me the right answers here because I was going to pull the same one that Max did. And every time I do this, Ken just blows me out of the water because which is a real compliment. I think that so convince me, how much is a new one?
First of all, I have Ken Bartley, Director of Emergency Services. Through the Mayor, Assemblymember McKee. You know, when I saw both of these going to be on here, I even questioned myself. Okay, I'll be honest, because you got a disparity. Now, this one is $1.6 million, brand new, and that's a ballpark, you know. But that's what we were quoted. And this one would have been less money to do a refurb on it, and that's what we've been doing. But what they found, what the company does is they'll come up here, and they did. And they give us an estimate on it. They physically climb under it, over it, around it. So we're not just sending them something and then it gets there, oh, it's going to be a lot more money. So they came up here and what we found out is the sub rail, which is the frame rails, are corroding.
Oh, dear.
So this one has to be a complete frame off restoration, and that added additional funds to it. So that's why it's more money, but we're still saving over $500,000 by doing a refurb.
Okay, I'm impressed as usual. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
Yeah, one more question for Ken, if you'll entertain it. I saw that the new frame rails are going to be galvanized. Are the previous ones not galvanized, or do you know that information?
Through the Mayor, Assemblymember Sumner, that's correct. The other ones are not galvanized.
So is it correct to assume that the new frame rails are going to last longer than the previous ones?
Absolutely. That's for the manufacturer, correct.
Yeah.
It was
I
a
went look,
2010.
sure you guys looked at that list, but it's, I mean, it's pretty extensive what they're doing to refurbish this thing. It's like going to be a brand new truck. So quite a cost savings.
And if I may, through that comment, thank you for that, Sumner. But so you understand, when we get these trucks, they're new titled. They're titled as new. So that's another advantage to doing this. We're not getting a 2010 with a new paint job. It is actually going to be licensed and registered in as a brand new apparatus, which helps us for ISO
Wow,
rating as well.
yeah, that's a good point.
So thank you.
Yeah. Did you have follow-up, sir?
Yeah. Oh, I just had one more comment. I did, you know, when I saw this, I said, that's $1 million. You know, I did Google's, how long should a fire truck last? And Google said 15 years at the maximum. So the borough, you know, Ken is here asking for $1 million for the fire service area at the maximum lifespan of the truck.
Further discussion by the assembly. Is there any objection to AM 25-108? Okay, hearing none, then the AM has been adopted. Next thing.
Introductions for public hearing on September 2nd, ordinance 25091 and ordinance 25094 with accompanying resolution 2580.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
I move to introduce the legislation as read into the record by the clerk and set the public hearings for September 2nd, 2025.
Is there any objection to setting the public hearing? Hearing none, then the legislation is introduced. Let me just go back and say there is no unfinished business and there are no vetoes. Deputy Mayor, vacancy report.
I move to confirm the mayor's recommendation as follows. Animal Care and Regulation Board, moving Rebecca Bond Knuth from alternate position to animal owner position. Borough Area School Site Selection Committee, resignation of Wilfred Fernandez. Enhanced 911 Advisory Board, Michelle Hoyt. Local Emergency Planning Committee, Marco Case. Resignation of Dwayne Shelton.
Is there any discussion on the vacancy report? Is there any objection? Okay, the vacancy report has been approved then. There is no other new business, there are no referrals, and there are no reconsiderations. Mr. Attorney, parting remarks? Okay, Assemblyperson McKee, parting remarks.
Yeah, I just had a question. I know I was late. 25170, did we do those?
Did we do what?
On the acquisition of 1 acre to the, adjacent to the Gateway Visitor Center, did we talk about that? And where did that go?
Assemblymember McKee, you're talking about IM 25170?
Yeah.
Those are just informational. The assembly doesn't vote on those.
Oh. Okay, well then, that's all right. I was afraid I missed that. All right. I'm sorry that she's not here, but I just wanted to commend Jillian Morrissey and Hugh, and I don't know his last name. We had a wonderful meeting on Monday and we're so happy. I am so happy, as the people that I've spoken with, moving the acquisition of new books is going to be made available to the public before that happens, and notification to the card holder as to checked out books. I just thought that was, they worked really hard on it. It's taken 1.5 years and they got there. So Jillian, wherever you are, and you, thank you.
Deputy Mayor, parting comments?
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Thank you, Lord, for all your blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Deputy Manager, parting comments, sir?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just some reminders on that Mike Brown left me to remind you of. He's in the lower 48 on leave. Excise tax open houses. He sent you all a letter on August 13, and we're working out the details of those right now. There are 6 of those scheduled. 2 of them are the locations in the Butte are not quite determined yet, and the Talkeetna one. But he wanted me to remind everyone that these are These are open house information briefs with a question and answer. That we will not be doing a public hearing kind of a thing, but there will be a question and answer period during that. Second item is that the port open house flyer you have in your packets, and that we expect that the legislators plan to be there on the 27th. That'll be the 26th and 27th out at the port. The port manager will be doing, or port director will be doing briefings every hour on the hour, starting at 10. And that Lonnie will advertise the possibility of 3 or more of our assembly members there, so that in case you show up and there's already 3 there, you're covered per the advertisement on that. Okay. The last item is a reminder on the groundbreaking coming up for American Charter. Will be on September 4th at 1 p.m., and that'll be up at the corner of Church and Selden. And that's all, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Assemblyperson Gamble, do you have parting comments? Do we lose him again?
Did he hang up? Oh, he's gone.
Okay. Assemblyperson Nowers, parting comments?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we can.
Okay. Just a couple things. Glad to see the open houses moving forward and probably on your radar, but a suggestion to have a list of frequently asked questions because I kind of get the same 4 or 5 about it. Maybe just have that handy somewhere as an item and the answers. To Ms. McKee, that 1 acre property is owned by the LaWalter family, which I believe is the same family that had the land that the Gateway Center is going on. And I think at this point, staff is just going to be working with them, and they'll come back to us on a price for that. So I think the family's real interested in working something out because that location's special to them. And was at the fair on Sunday. I think I have never seen it so packed. I couldn't even squeeze between the food booths and the concert line, and but everybody was having a great time, and the weather was fabulous. So I hope everybody gets a chance to go there. And then just if folks haven't seen it, Andy Couch has a really good column in the Frontiersman on the silver salmon runs in Matsu. The state just closed the Deshka to fishing because the return is so poor, and the Susitna, little Susitna again, has been severely restricted. So just encourage everyone, if you haven't already, to maybe look up that column and note what's happening with the salmon runs in that too. And I hope everybody has a good rest of the week.
Safe travels, lady, for wherever you're going. Madam Clerk, parting comments? No? Assemblyperson Sumner, parting comments, sir?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I do have an intent to bring some legislation or a resolution amending the lake management plan thresholds. I would welcome, I can talk to 2 other assembly members, when we draft that. So I would, email me if you're interested, I guess. I would also ask the attorney, would it be possible to bring a couple of planning commission members in on that or not?
Go ahead,
You
sir.
can talk, if it's your ordinance, you can talk to whoever you want. You just got to make sure that those planning commission members don't talk with other planning commission members.
Copy that. So we just got to.
I mean, they're subject to the Open Meetings Act just like you are. So they got to make sure that they don't, if you're going to pick their brain and get ideas and brainstorm and suggestions, you can talk to 3 of them, but they cannot talk with other members of the planning commission.
Copy that. Okay. Well, yeah, I just off the top of my head, I think that, public, lakes with boat launches and public access should be treated differently with a different voting threshold, just off the top of my head. But I'll be probably drafting a resolution or some ordinance to changing these a little bit. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Assemblyperson Fauna, parting, no? Okay. So we do not have an executive session, and then, so if there's no objection, we will adjourn at 9:05.